Whew, what's happening, man? Ugh. Let's see what's happening on these YouTube spaces, man. See what's happening in these YouTube spaces, yo. Ugh. I'm doing good, man. How are you today? How are you today, DVK? Nate Campbell, Una J in the building. Justin, lucky number 7, Cool Cat. Oh, yeah, man. Man, let me tell you, man. Let me tell you, man. Okay, I see you. I see you, Robbie, Rami. I see you. I see your stories you sent me. I'm gonna try to get to some of them today. Salute to everybody on the unofficial Ock Nation, the unofficial Ock Nation YouTube. Salute to everybody on the unofficial Ock Nation YouTube, man. Man, um, oh man, see, mm, yeesh. Let's see what else is going on, man. Uh, okay. What's this? Okay. Okay. That. Let's see that. We got what's this too? Okay. Not necessarily that. Yeah, man, I'm about to drop the link, yo. I'm about to drop the link, man. I'm about to drop the link on you. Ain't no need to belabor the situation. Oh my god. Some of the stuff some of the stuff I got over here, I don't even show y'all like I don't even show y'all like 5% of I don't even show y'all like 5% of the stuff that I got, man. It's so much stuff, man. The situation is so more dire than you guys think. The situation is so much more dire than what you guys think, man. Let me drop the link, man. Let me drop the link. The link went, man. The link went. Who remembers Delinquent, the clothing label back in the 90s? Delinquent. It was Delinquent. They had the long sleeve with this writing on the sleeve. Delinquent. Mm. Link is in the description box, man. Um uh drop the link. Link, there you go. Oh shit, they got me. Uh-oh. They got me signed into the other account. Uh, eesh. Yeah, man, I got a lot for you guys, man. Let me see. Let me see. I got some IG stuff too, man. Ugh. I know after the show, I'm gonna need to get some rest tonight, man. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. I need to give me some rest tonight, Jack. I need to give me some rest tonight, Jack. Um, okay. So yeah, everything's set up, man. Link is in the description box. Make it a quickly night. He said no 5 hours at least. God damn. Man, you better hit that fucking link if you want 5 hours, man. You better hit that damn donation. Hit that hit the Cash App, PayPal, Super Chat, man. Um got Blanco in the building. What's happening, man?
Another day without Asian violence.
Oh really? No Asian mass shootings today?
I'm surprised, honestly. I was becoming accustomed to it. It was happening on the daily.
Yeah, man, what happened, man? What the hell's going on, man? Maybe they got programs. Maybe programs actually work with them, man. I don't know, man.
They got the software update.
Yeah, man. Something happened, man. That was a glitch, man. That was a glitch, man. Let's see what's going on out here, man. In these. Speaking of that, man, let me. It's good that you said that, man. Um, let's see. Speaking of that, so this woman, Pin Young, her first thoughts about the Asian shootings weren't the victims. Wasn't the victims, man. This Tiger actress, man. She said, "This is how Trumpers respond to news of the Monterey Park mass shooting. People are effing dead, and they're happy to see it. Trumpism is pure evil. Mind you, this disgusting person's profile says God loving Christian. No, God is about love. These fake Christians can F themselves. So there's a bunch of dead tigers laid up in the club, and she's on Twitter whining about some tweet from some random, as she calls it, Trumper.
Yeah, man, dude, they're upset that it wasn't a white supremacist.
So they're gonna go online and attack gliders for every tweet about it, so that it feels like it. You know what I'm saying? To give it the feel that it was, white supremacists.
Hey,
Because
UK man, how do y'all handle these mass shootings?
talking to you, Alexander.
Me. There was actually a drive-by shooting. I'm just trying to send you a super chat. There was actually a drive-by shooting in London the other week. I don't think it was Black Sabbath. I think it was some funeral. Somebody shut up a funeral in North London.
But do like people say, "Oh, it's just another day in the UK"? We need to do something about this.
The big news here is that an Afghan so-called asylum seeker came to this country. So he was 14. He was actually older than that. He'd already murdered two people, two fellow Afghans in Romania or somewhere. He came here. He just got a life sentence of murdering some poor bloke.
Wow.
He's 21 now. These so-called asylum seekers are coming over. They're adults and they're posing as kids, and the lawyers are facilitating. It's ludicrous.
Y'all are done. I think England's done. I don't think England can turn it around. I think it's too far gone. What do you think about that?
I think America is gone because you've got 5 million people come across the border. You know how many more? And these are people who've got most of them have got no skills. A lot of them can't speak English. Poor people.
Well, they can be bus boys though. They can be bus boys and maids and hotel.
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to drag the country down. That's this whole. Have you been following this ESG thing and everything? And this World Economic Forum? You've got bigger problems than shootings in the hood. This is lunatics trying to destroy. They're trying to destroy civilization basically, so they can impose their own dictatorship. The World Economic Forum, people like that. It isn't a conspiracy theory. They're quite open about it. They don't use the same language, but they're quite open about it.
Yeah.
I agree and I disagree with that. A lot of Mexicans, they do, laborious jobs here that don't take that much education. They take trade jobs that you can learn within, a few months.
Yeah, but you got so many, and you got Trump said the other day at Diamond's funeral, he said that they're emptying their prisons. You got all these people coming to us. We don't know who they are a lot of the time, and I think unless anybody says anything about it, oh, you're racist. And you got this Mayorkas creature. It's deliberate. They're destroying the country, and blacks will suffer a lot as well because I think this is what is at the cause of a lot of this other anti-Asian violence. Blacks see Asians and they think they're invading, and it's terrible. A country without borders isn't a country, which is what I don't want.
Yeah, I got you, man. Let me move along, man. Honky Kong says, "Great channel. I found it looking for AK-47 videos. Wow, that's what's up, man. Let me move along, man. Salute, man. Let me move along. Drop that. Oh God, man. I tell you, man. There's so much going on. It's so much going on, man. You guys just don't have no idea, man. It's so much going on. So this is the new thing they're saying. I was surprised by this. I didn't know that they were gonna jump on this opportunity because when it's by Tigers doing these shootings the last couple of days and not Sunmen, you have the ability to introduce radical new terminology into the lexicon, and you have a chance to, crack down on it. You notice how whenever it's Sunmen, they never talk about gun control. When it's a glider, they instantly bring up two-way gun controls, bump stocks, whatever it is. Now you have tigers who are, the model minority, so you can actually go after them. Listen to this.
I've been calling it an assault
Hold
pistol.
on, time out. Let me turn the sound up a little bit. Okay.
I find that
Thank
very
you.
interesting. I've been calling it an assault pistol. I find that very interesting. LA Times, did this whole write-up and called it an assault pistol.
That's the new
And,
narrative.
This type of language and rhetoric is exactly what the Democrats.
They're calling because the tigers use pistols. Both tigers use pistols, I think. Well, not pistols, but Macs, which are handguns, technically. One used a Mac and one used I think he used a handgun. Now they're calling them assault pistols. When some men been spraying up everything with switches for the last 5 years, and they never called it an assault pistol. But now they get to call it assault pistol. They get to slide in behind the tigers and introduce this to the lexicon.
The yellow face of white supremacy.
Assault pistols.
Democrats try to go to when it really was just a regular handgun, like you said.
Thank you. I mean, it looks like an Uzi, but it was a smaller caliber. I'm not saying it looked like a 9mm, but I found that interesting that the new liberal sheriff who beat out Villanueva in Liberalville, LA, called it an assault pistol as well. And I heard that time and time again all morning. I'm like, so if I beat you over the head with my iPhone, and you die, are we gonna call this an assault phone?
Hey, shout out to the Washington Redskins, man. Old school.
Why you say that?
The tiger was wearing a Redskins jacket. You didn't see the logo?
Oh yeah, this is my team, man. That's the team of my youth, man.
Yeah, man. Well, we expect better from the Asians. Virginia Tech, that happened 15 years ago, and none of them have done this since.
Yeah, man. They're the model minority. Let's see what else is going on, man. Around the interwebs, man. Salute to everybody, man. Salute to everybody coming through, man.
Thieves ripped an entire safe. Local 10 has the $1 million heist that happened at a mansion in the victims out after thieves ripped an entire safe out of their home. Local 10's Andrew Perez live down to explain how they got away with it. Andrew.
Kelvin, here's the thing. The family fears that they were being watched the whole time. This is obviously a really big financial hit, but more than that, they feel unsafe.
It's our life savings. We have kids.
Her peace of mind broken, recently moving to Weston from California to raise her kids.
It will work really hard for what we have, and it makes no sense.
These tigers, man. Tigers moved from Cali to Florida, man.
We have kids.
Her peace of mind broken, recently moving to Weston from California to raise her kids.
It will work really hard for what we have, and it makes no sense. And also the safety of my kids, that's the main thing.
The homeowner we're not identifying says they were fortunately out of town, but her mother was house sitting. She went to go run errands and quickly came back to find the marble floors scratched up.
In order to scratch it, it's like almost impossible unless it's very heavy furniture or something really heavy, right? Being dragged through the floor.
Turns out it was their safe. Someone got into the house and dragged it right out the garage, broke a door handle, tossed the closet, stealing very specific items, leaving the laptops and technology, but taking
Fendi and Chanel. These tigers, man, y'all like the same stuff we like, man. Fendi and Chanel, that's our thing, man.
Yeah, wow. But they're buying the real stuff, not the knockoffs.
We buy the real stuff too. What you talking about? Sunman, you can't come around if it's not real, man. What you talking about? This ain't Africa. Sunman will live in the projects and have all the. have the same wardrobe as these tigers that live in the mansion.
And technology, but taking more than $1 million worth of custom-made jewelry, luxury bags, and that safe.
Everybody's like,
$1
look,
million worth of stuff in your house. Jesus Christ, man. I don't know if I got I don't know if I had $20,000 worth of stuff in my house, man. Let's see, this washer, maybe this washer and dryer and this deep freezer. Yeah, I mean, I guess appliances. But if you take the appliances out of it, if you take the appliances away, I don't know if I got $20,000 worth of stuff in my house. What about y'all, man? How much y'all got? How much stuff y'all got in your house?
Maybe like 30.
I got my desktop. That's it.
Yeah, man. Got $1 million worth. They got away with $1 million worth of jewelry, and it took your safe too, man. These tigers living good, man. These model minorities, man, they doing good over here, man. Salute to them, man.
You notice
Luxury bag.
You notice it's Chinese outside China. Chinese in China don't any good at all. It's only the immigrants are doing any good.
Yeah, definitely. I know. But those ones in China would do good if they had the opportunity. They just don't have the opportunity to do good.
Door handle tossed to the closet, stealing very specific items, leaving the laptops and technology, but taking more than $1 million worth of custom-made jewelry, luxury bags, and that safe.
everybody's like, look, we noticed a car parked in your house for a couple of hours. Okay, now that we look through the footage, we noticed somebody else walking back and forth. So we feel like we were being watched. We feel like there was obviously some sort of surveillance.
This happened Sunday evening in Weston in the area of Saddle Club Road and South Post Road. There's security, there are gates, and there are more questions than answers. These crooks even stealing a whole rack of men's clothing, a custom-made watch full of diamonds, a pricey Van Cleef necklace. You name it, it was taken. Now this family needs to know how the crooks pulled it off, targeting them and dragging a safe. You can imagine they're beefing up security now as well. They're also offering a $10,000 reward for information here. Maybe you come across some of those goods. We're going to have much more information on our website as well.
A $10,000 reward to help you get $1 million worth of stuff back. They cheap too, man. The tigers are cheap. They cheap when they want to be.
But if you have any information, you can call Crime Stoppers at number 954-493-TIPS. We're in Weston. I'm Andrew Perez, Local 10 News.
Okay. Well, we now know the woman shot and killed inside an apartment building in New Jersey was a teacher for Jersey City Public Schools, and we have learned that police have also made an arrest in the case.
That shooting happened this morning on Bergen Avenue in Jersey City. Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Johnson spoke to someone who heard the gunfire, and he joins us live with more. Anthony.
Yeah, the shooting happened around 7:15 this morning on the third floor of this building. The daughter of the victim is the one who called police and told them who the suspect was, and they were able to capture that man this afternoon in Pennsylvania.
We got a female victim, multiple gunshots.
It was a shocking call from a 15-year-old that led police to the third-floor hallway of the Toy Factory apartments. Neighbors of the victim say all they heard was gunfire.
Bang, 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 and that was it.
So you heard the shots this morning?
Yes, I did. I was going to walk out. It was around 7:15, 7:10, around there, because I just came from the store buying some stuff.
The victim was found shot multiple times and died. She has been identified as Tamara King, a third-grade school teacher with a master's degree working in Jersey City. The district issued a statement regarding the tragedy this afternoon stating, "Our hearts are broken at the sudden loss of Tamara King. She was an outstanding teacher and educated member of our district. She will be missed, and our prayers go to her family and friends as they cope with this tragedy."
She's suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. We got a faint pulse right now.
Many of the family and friends gathered near the home of Tamara King's mother in Jersey City. They were too consumed with grief to speak. But cops were able to talk to the teen who heard a fight between her mother and father just before the gunfire.
She heard her mother and father argue this morning. And multiple gunshots.
The motive for the tragedy.
You're muted.
Listen, man. I mean, if you married, man, you can understand. It's not right, but you can understand. Ain't that right, ladies? Married, all my married people, you can tell me you can't understand that, man. I mean, it's not right, man, but you can understand, man.
But cops were able to talk to the teen who heard a fight between her mother and father just before the gunfire.
She heard her mother and father argue this morning. And multiple gunshots.
The motive for the tragedy is unclear, but the suspect, identified as 39-year-old Lucas Cooper, is now in custody near Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
He doesn't have a residence. He lives out of his vehicle.
And once again, Cooper was taken into custody this morning, or rather this afternoon, near Pennsylvania. He has now been charged with murder and criminal possession of a weapon. A friend of the family tells me the couple was getting divorced.
Yeah, man, makes sense.
And new at 5, a family in the Bronx talking about the murder of their son at an Army base in Alabama. 21-year-old Abdul Latifu had only served as a soldier for 5 short months when an argument with a fellow soldier escalated to murder. The family saying the Army isn't providing the answers they need.
Sunman, man. Sunman, boy, I'll tell you, man. They in the Army killing each other, man. Marcy, man, what's up, man?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Yeah, man, some man in the Army whacking out each other in the Army, man.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Right, man. This is crazy, man. What the hell?
Base in Alabama. 21-year-old Abdul Latifu had only served as a soldier for 5 short months when an argument with a fellow soldier escalated to murder. The family saying the Army isn't providing the answers they need. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Charlesworth spoke to the family tonight. She's live in the Belmont section. Michelle, you just feel for this family.
Oh, Sade, this young man, Abdul Latifu, was in the Army. He was training to be an air traffic controller, staying in Army dorms with 2 other privates. And that is where he was brutally murdered. The murder weapon was a sharp shovel that can be used also. It's a military tool. It can be used as an axe. And the family says he was hit in the head 8 times, head and face.
Damn.
I got one of those.
Oh, really? Can you show us? Can you put it on the screen?
It's in my truck. I'd have to go out and get it.
Don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it.
No, I was gonna say it's
just a miniature shovel.
Yeah, it's an e-tool, and it has sharpened edges for, you know, cause it's used primarily for digging holes, but you can't use it as a weapon.
It's a brutal weapon, huh?
Yeah, it's almost like it's kind of like a hatchet. It's a bit like a hatchet, but it's like a shovel. So basically, it's like you take a shovel and you sharpen the edges, and at the point of it, it's actually sharpened to a point.
Oh wow! So it's like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a brutal weapon right there. So you can do a lot with that, man.
Yeah, the e-tool.
Salute to CJ Boomstick. He says, much love and respect. My therapist said I had to chill on listening to you because it messes with my mental health. She's not wrong. I've been worried about our people. Yeah, hey, man, listen. It is what it is, man. Shout out to your therapist, man. It is what it is, man. I think all some people should be in therapy, man. Shout out to you, man.
2 other privates, and that is where he was brutally murdered. The murder weapon was a sharp shovel that can be used also. It's a military tool. It can be used as an axe. And the family says he was hit in the head 8 times, head and face, 8 times with that murder weapon, and that he also suffered defensive wounds. There is no word on any injuries to the 21-year-old who was charged.
Quiet, studious, friendly, a huge fan of anime and being with his family, Abdul Latifu had just turned 21 when he was brutally murdered with a military tool like this one. The Army says by a fellow private at Fort Rucker in Alabama.
For him to be taken away from us at a young age is heartbreaking.
It happened January 10th. And from that day, the family says there has been very little information and little respect.
At that time, I know in my heart my son is in the morgue, not in the hospital.
The Army says the murder
There it
weapon
is.
was an entrenching tool.
There it is. Yeah, that'll fuck you up, man. You hit somebody with that, man, especially if they're not looking. Whew.
It's pretty tough too. They do a lot of damage with it.
Yeah, man.
Totally insane. What were they argued over? What could have been argued over to bash the guy's head in with that?
It don't have to be much, man. I mean, with us, with sons, man, we take it there quick. It could be a stick of gum, man. It don't have to be much.
Tool, a folding sharp military shovel that his family says never should have been allowed in an area away from supervised training. Charged with murder is 21-year-old Brian Jones Jr.
So he got killed by the African got killed by the African American.
It's amazing how they said it should have been left in there. They should have been left with that tool unsupervised. He could have used a magazine and found a way to kill him. I mean, but an e-tool that's common. That's common on military bases. I don't understand why they said that.
Right, they're treating them like kids. You could have left 1,000 guns in there with a bunch of gliders and nobody would have got killed. Okay, it's all about how you resolve differences between each other. Some people, the way we resolve when it comes especially to each other, when we resolve issues, somebody's typing like a motherfucker, but when we resolve issues and we resolve discrepancies, things like that, minor too, we resolve that stuff with violence. Okay, that's how we are with each other, and it's not no self-hate. It ain't the white man taught us how to be like that. That's just how we are, and you can't fix it. You got to stop typing, Alexander, man. I muted you for a reason because you keep typing. We can hear you. We can hear you typing.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Yeah.
Brian Jones Jr.
I want justice. I want case law out of this.
Mohammed, his brother, wants the law changed. He never wants entrenching tools to be in dorm areas again.
What?
Come on, man.
Hey, we buy black. We buy black around here.
Yeah, man.
Are you kidding me?
Yo, they're going too far, man. They've been here too long, man. This goddamn African man in his country, he would never propose this. He would never go to the goddamn Nigerian army and tell him
he looks like Zuby, doesn't he?
Yeah, a little bit.
Would never do that. Oh shit!
If one of them found, watch, one of them is gonna find a way to kill another soldier with a canteen. I mean, if anything, I think that's pretty cool that soldiers could do that. But it's a matter. It's the software. You know, it's the software in that case.
Muzzy thought it would be cool to kill somebody with a canteen. Oh my god, bro!
That would be. That would be impressive. But I'm saying that it's the mindset. You'll find if you got that mindset, you use anything that you can get your hands on. You know.
Yeah, but let's get these assault shovels out of the barracks, man.
What's up, Fisherman? What do you think about this, man?
I mean, some people just never correctly identify how to solve the problem. Like, I mean, if he grabs a chair in the room and hits him over the head with the chair, like WWE, are we going to ban the chairs now? Like, it's anything but like personal accountability. Personal accountability is like hot lava to some people.
He would never try this in his home country. He would never go to no West African country and be like, I want this never to be any they don't even. He wouldn't even do that. That's the thing about it. You wouldn't have to worry about what their response would be because he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they just turn it into a way to bully and shame white people.
What's crazy is the implication of this. I mean, you can't trust soldiers with an E. These are soldiers, and you can't trust them with an E tool. But their whole job is to be able to kill and break stuff, kill people and break shit. If you can't trust them to be able to use this, then what's the point?
Yeah, but people in the army aren't really the brightest, man.
I understand that, but it's like, again, it's the implication of like you can't have E tools. What's next? You can't have ceramic mugs because that can cut the shit. That can cut the hell out of somebody. If you break it, and use it right.
I mean, a pocket knife, a set of keys, a fucking ballpoint. You could kill somebody with a pin. Like, it just, I mean, anything other than the Sun Man is irrationally violent and impulsive. We can come up with anything else other than that.
Yeah, but it's just not the Sun, man. It's the gliders. I was watching Dateline today, and back in 2003, this woman hired a hitman to kill her boss. Well, her boss was with her son, so they end up both getting killed. And the daughter, during the court trial, she was actually asking for the minimum sentence and stuff. And she said that she held no hate in her heart for those people and that they had reasons to do those actions. And 10 years later, she was one of the founding members of Mom Demand Action.
Ugh. Well, they're not in their right mind anyway. I mean,
yeah, but this was back in 2003, and they were already thinking like this.
Yeah. Well, every group, I guess every group's got their baggage. It just sucks that it just sucks that this guy his thinking is to keep soldiers from having E tools because you're afraid of them killing each other. That's what.
Instead of realizing that this was a person with, irrational thoughts and feelings and no foresight and shit.
Exactly.
So the military in general is a complete joke at this point. And when I got out, it was falling really fast. And now, from what I'm hearing, it's absolute clown world.
I'm guessing you were on the Navy, on the ship boys, fishermen.
Why would you say that?
Fishermen. Fishermen
No,
on a boat.
I was in the Army.
Okay.
Because the Navy's gay.
Yeah, that's super, super clever. But no, when I was getting out, it was a lot of like we were starting to get like transgender training awareness bullshit.
It's absolute garbage. It's dangerous, very dangerous.
And everything was like feminist themed and sexual harassment training, and it was just nonstop like HR pandering bullshit and nothing to do with like actual relevant skill sets to your MOS. And now it's literally like if you're a son female, you can, fly up the ranks, and they're actively like trying to push glider men to leave, and they're just getting more and more like woke types in leadership, and it's going off a cliff. And they're getting rid of all kinds of physical fitness standards and everything that makes the Army like into what it's supposed to be. They're getting rid of and replacing it with like a feminized woke version.
Hey, Fishman, you bring back any useful skills from the military?
I mean, yeah, mostly like not job related stuff, but just leadership stuff. And how to delegate tasks and manage people. But there's a lot of like really, really stupid people. Like there was people like there's people that you wish you could take their firing pin out of their weapon. when you get deployed, because they're people like this guy. They're just so unstable and so dumb that you can't trust them with live rounds.
And not only that, but the military is pretty historically Democrat voting and stuff. I mean, even like the last presidential election, I think it was like 67% voted, in favor of Joe Biden.
Yeah, there was actually quite a few times where I was talking to different, mostly enlisted people, and they would say a lot of political stuff that really caught me off guard. And yeah, a lot of them are pretty far left, or at least Democrat leaning. But yeah, I don't regret getting out at all. It was horrible set of years, and it was.
Did you just
I
do the
went,
minimum 4, or did you leave because you had started to hate it so much?
I got out because I started to hate it, and I had a injury that they let me get out on.
What's up, Mayo?
Hey, Mayo.
Man, I can't believe my beloved military has to give up e-tools now because of the Sun Man.
Believe it, man.
This is fucking ridiculous.
Man.
I mean, they're going to give them fucking blunt chopsticks next to eat with in the chow hall.
They'll sharpen those. You just wait and see.
Did you see the sister commander from the other night? Did you miss that show?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Sister was the sister general in the army.
Oh God. I'll tell you, but what Fisherman was saying about stupid people in the army, and I got out in '98, and my platoon sergeant, who took my position only because he was already an E7, he couldn't write an NCOER to save his life.
I had officers that would have me proofread their NCOER stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, how in the fuck did you get a college degree? Like, it was unbelievable.
And anybody that serves under them will never get promoted.
What's the NCOR?
It's your report card, basically.
Like how you are performing in all your different duties and requirements as a soldier.
Oh, okay. Let's move along.
Should have been allowed in an area away from supervised training. Charged that day, the family says there has been very little information and little respect.
At that time, I know in my heart my son is in the morgue, not in the hospital.
The Army says the murder weapon was an entrenching tool, a folding, sharp military shovel that his family says never should have been allowed in an area away from supervised training. Charged with murder is 21-year-old Brian Jones Jr.
I want justice. I want case law out of this.
Muhammad, his brother, wants the law changed. He never wants entrenching tools to be in dorm areas again.
The E-tool that was used to murder my brother violently, they shouldn't have it.
No motive has been given by investigators, but only one person reportedly suffered wounds in the attack.
You hear they say altercation, fight, and this guy doesn't fight.
The family is just heartbroken and desperate for timely information. They prepared Abdul Latifu's body themselves for burial. They saw the head and face wounds and the defensive wounds he suffered.
His leaders said that nothing suggests, right now the CID is saying nothing suggests that they fought before it happened. It was a premeditated murder.
He was asleep. That's what I think.
To the Army, Muhammad says this.
You can keep your condolences. Keep it to yourself. We don't care about them. We want justice.
You see the shirt he's wearing? It's a slogan on it.
Yeah, buy black.
That's what the shirt say. Buy black.
We buy black.
I can look at the mother's outfit and wonder why they want to disarm the military. That's all I got to say.
That's the sister.
I want to buy E-Tool, another one at least.
Yeah, man.
They're very handy.
Obviously.
Stick around at the end, Mossy. I got a better one for you. I just picked 2 of them up.
All right.
We don't care about them. We want justice.
The family says they have been waiting for more information. They've seen things leaked out on social media in Alabama. They said they've been told by investigators it will be another month before they get more information. They want to know what is going on, why their son, their brother, was killed in what should be one of the safest places on earth. And they want to make sure that in his name, other young people are safer in the future.
Where did they get that that's one of the safest places on earth?
History of one of the former Memphis police officers involved.
Their imagination.
Yeah, that woman.
Yeah, no shit.
Dumb as shit.
Yeah, but that's scary. If that's the case, we're fucked as a country.
I mean, it is Fort Rucker, so it's the Army's main aviation-based training. So you do have a higher caliber of soldier.
Okay. Well, this some man happened to know some man to death. And it wasn't like this wasn't Murder, She Wrote, where it takes, we need Columbo and shit to come solve this shit. This was like, he just hacked the dude to death and left him in the room. That was golly, man. That's I don't know what happened, man. Whatever.
We're getting more insight into the history of one of the former Memphis police officers involved in the arrest of Tyre Nichols. Demetrius Haley is one of 5 officers that have been fired from the department following Nichols' arrest and death. This afternoon, another man claims he was beaten by Haley. WRAG Shay Arthur is live with that information. Shay?
Yeah, these allegations come from a lawsuit from several years ago where a man claims that he was beaten by Haley so bad he passed out.
Justice for Tyre! Justice for Tyre!
Before these chants,
Justice for Tyre! Justice for Tyre!
a now former inmate at the Shelby County Corrections Center claims he too was beaten by the same officer, now fired following the death of Tyre Nichols. The case goes back to 2016 when he filed a federal lawsuit against Demetrius Haley, who worked at the corrections center. The handwritten lawsuit claims officers came in for a random search after believing they saw smoke coming from the area. The man alleged he was strip searched in a restroom by Haley and another officer while a sergeant supervised. He claims the officers told him he tried to flush contraband, going on to say Haley and another officer punched him in the face, at one point saying the other officer picked him up and slammed him face first into a sink, then to the floor. After that, he passed out, waking up in a medical unit. In 2018, a judge dismissed the case, citing failures by the plaintiff, not submitting necessary information when requested. According to Memphis police, Haley was hired in August of 2020. For now, it's unclear what his role was in the incident earlier this month that landed Tyre Nichols in the hospital and later dead. MPD announced Haley had been terminated last week.
Okay. Who's this guy we got in the back? Oh, he left already. Oh well. This case, these officers, these black cops, they're in a world of shit, man. Crump's in town.
That's what police are like.
Yeah, this is
there's one here just started. He's pleaded guilty to 49 rapes and things for over a 20-year period.
Oh wow.
White.
Yeah, definitely.
David Carrick, his name was.
Yeah, man. That's a whole different issue right there.
And Alex, April, we have requested Haley's files from when he worked for Shelby County as well as the city of Memphis. Right now, we are waiting to hear back. We're live downtown tonight. Shay Arthur, WREG, Channel 3.
First tonight, police in Prince William County responding to the uptick in crime on Route 1 in Woodbridge.
Just last week, a 27-year-old man was shot and killed in an area on Richmond Highway that police are calling a hotspot. Our Nana Setio Bonsu has more on the new safety measures leaders are putting in place. Nana?
Rob and Marina, good evening. This section of Route 1 right here behind me is a major area of concern for police and county leaders. So much of a concern that you can see the police department now has permanent patrols parked in this section, this parking lot area of the 7-Eleven. Right now, there's 1, 2, 3, I believe 4 police cars. There's one pulling off right now, but just about an hour.
Uh-oh, that one pulling off, shit. I mean, just that one cop car pulling off and only leaving 3 there, man. It's open season now, man. It's probably going to be a carjacking within the next 30 minutes, man. Son, man, need maximum supervision, man.
Leaders, so much of a concern that you can see the police department now has permanent patrols parked in this section, this parking lot area of the 7-Eleven. Right now, there's 1, 2, 3, I believe 4 police cars. There's one pulling off right now, but just about an hour ago, there was a total of 6 police patrol cars monitoring this area that county leaders call challenging.
That's the one thing that keeps me up at night, wondering if there's going to be another incident.
Another incident similar to what happened last week on January 16th. Prince William County Police were called to this 7-Eleven off of Route 1 and Prince William Parkway. When they arrived, they found 2 men who had been shot several times. A 22-year-old survived, but a 27-year-old man, Hakeem Williams, died at the hospital. The next day, on the 17th, there was a non-fatal stabbing. This isn't the first time a heavy police presence has been spotted in this area. Last July, the body of a woman who was shot and killed was found in a wooded area behind the 7-Eleven. Several months later in October, another homicide. County Supervisor Margaret Franklin.
Man, that's 7-Eleven, man. God, dog, man.
They actually took the liquor license from the 7-Eleven.
That's good, man. I mean, it hasn't done anything, but at least,
But how is it the 7-Eleven's fault?
Well, let me tell you how it's the 7-Eleven's fault, man. Because it has to be somebody's fault. And you cannot fix the other problem. Like, for instance, you just said they took the liquor license. That is a change that's been made to the situation. With some people, you can't change nothing. You can't change nothing with us. We're what do you call it? Immutable.
They still sell backwoods and Newports.
Yeah,
so the Sunman ain't leaving the area.
Yeah, but you can't ban them from selling that. You
can.
How can you stop?
You can take their tobacco license too.
That's less likely. I just think that that's less likely. But yeah, I think that you guys don't also know that this area, like the surround. This is the highway. I forgot. I think they call it the highway or something. But yeah, this is sunny, man. Sunny area, man. So it don't matter, man. As long as unless you take that 7-Eleven, put it in another neighborhood, they got these issues, man.
Area behind the 7-Eleven. Several months later in October, another homicide. County Supervisor Margaret Franklin says enough is enough. Her office is working with the police department to enhance safety measures.
There's now fencing up behind some of those businesses to prevent people from hanging out back there.
We asked police,
what is it about this specific area?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint. I mean, it is.
It's that the surrounding area is full of black people. And if you turn that into a fucking 8-12 or a fucking 6-10, it don't matter what it was, 7-Eleven, 14-28, it don't matter what type of numbers you put on front of that fucking building. Okay?
16-19.
It's a corrections office. I mean, it's a convenience store in a sunny area. Period. What do you think is the problem? He can't tell you what the problem is, man.
What is it about this specific area?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint. I mean, it is a a rather densely populated area. Most areas along Route 1, at least through Prince William County, are rather densely populated. We've had issues behind that particular business in question.
A hotspot area that county leaders want to make safer for businesses.
There's also more cameras going up in the general vicinity to get a better idea of who's doing what.
Customers in the area will also see an increase in patrol cars.
There are no trespassing signs up, which allows police to now do enforcement.
Supervisor Franklin says residents deserve better. She knows this will be a challenge, but she's optimistic.
I feel pretty good about the measures that we're taking, and I think that we'll see a reduction, if not a complete halt to incidents.
Is she the chief? Wait a second, what the fuck?
Yeah. And what they failed to mention is she's trying to make have them use money to open a convention center for youth in response to this.
Oh yeah, they want another rec center.
What? Everywhere?
You heard it.
What the fuck? She want a mother, so she sees a mother. She's a mammy. She sees these kids as her little kids, man. She can fix them. These are not your fucking kids, woman.
We'll see a reduction, if not a complete halt to incidents in the area.
Now, police tell us that they still need the community's help. In the 3 homicides that we touched on, only one of those cases are closed. Police say.
Salute to TCT, man. Come back up, man. I was about to bring you on, but you dropped. I didn't know who you was. It said TCT says I'm stationed at Fort Rucker at the warrant officer school. I work 100 meters from where that soldier was killed. My chain of command hasn't addressed the killing yet. And it's been 2 weeks. I was trying to chat, but do you think, yeah, man, you come back up. Like I didn't know who the hell you was. I never seen your name before. Come back up, man. I'll bring you on.
It's going to take cooperation from residents in the area to help close the 2 other homicides and cases. So anyone with information is asked to call police. And not too long ago, we just got information from the county supervisor that ABC has suspended the liquor license of the 7-Eleven behind me. Right now, there's still a lot of questions, but we are told it's temporary and it is in relation to the spike of crime in this area. As soon as we get additional information, we'll have it for you here and online. Back to you guys.
Now to Oakland, where 8 people were shot tonight, including an 18-year-old man who was killed. This happened shortly after 6 o'clock at a gas station at Seminary Avenue and MacArthur Boulevard in East Oakland, as KTVU's Amber Lee reports.
You see the difference in mass shootings? You see the difference? You see the difference? Now, let me show you something. This one right here. Oh, let me just pull out the video. I'll show you after this video.
Family members of the victims have been grieving right outside Highland Hospital.
Relatives of shooting victims gathered just outside Highland Hospital. One family received devastating news.
Hombritos, man. Wow, a rap video full of hombritos, man.
Relatives emerged from the hospital visibly distraught and grieving.
Wow, that's so sad. That is so sad, man, right? That is so sad, man.
It's horrific.
Yeah, man, that's terrible. This is terrible, man. These are probably the fathers and the brothers and shit like that, uncles. Oh my God, man, this is horrible. This is more tears than we see this fucking 2 years full of sisters watching their kids. God
At
damn.
Highland Hospital, one family received devastating news. Relatives emerged from the hospital visibly distraught and grieving. They identified the victim who died at the hospital as 18-year-old Mario Navarro of Oakland.
Well, I'm heartbroken right now. I'm about to go see my family inside.
The shooting took place at or near a gas station on MacArthur Boulevard and Seminary. Police say they were alerted by a ShotSpotter activation shortly after 6 p.m. Monday.
Upon arrival, they located a shooting scene. They located casings.
Please tell, no, she's not the chief. I know she's not the fucking chief. This fucking Sun Tiger. I think she is the chief.
She might be a spokeswoman.
Yeah, because I know they have a. I thought they had a black dude that was the chief. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
but no victims. Shortly thereafter, our communications division received notification of multiple gunshot wound victims who self-transported to local hospitals.
Police say there are 7 other gunshot victims who are expected to survive. One woman tells me her sister is among those who were shot. Investigators collected evidence from 2 cars that may have transported the gunshot victims to the hospital.
It's really disheartening and difficult, to deal with. But, again, we're relying on community support to help solve this incident.
Police investigators say multiple people fired their guns, possibly from across the street. One relative says the teen killed had graduated from high school last year.
He was really sweet. He was a really, he kind of liked music, but he was not really bad person. He was really good.
Who believes this, man? What do y'all think about her what she said about the victim, man?
It's possible.
He's part of the
An odd
posse, the
statement.
hype beast.
It's an odd statement.
Yeah, very odd
Oh,
statement.
sorry.
Yeah. Very odd statement. He wasn't really bad. He wasn't in the music. What was he doing at the video shoot?
He was really sweet. He was a really, he kind of liked music, but he was not really bad person. He was really good.
Police say they're looking at what led up to the shooting, including the possibility that a music video was being videotaped at the time. In Oakland, Amber Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Well, detectives are actively.
Amber Lee, man.
Now to Oakland, where 8 people were.
She the new Connie Chung, man.
Better than Amber Geiger.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Let's see what's going on here in Oakland, man. In Oaktown, man. Oh, here go the police chief right here. Okay.
A strong show of support today for embattled Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong. He's now on paid leave after a report accused him of failing to hold officers accountable. KTVU crime reporter Henry Lee was at the rally. He's live tonight in the newsroom with more on the story. Henry?
Well, Mike, the Oakland police chief is on leave, accused of failing to hold accountable a sergeant who tried to cover up 2 incidents, hitting a parked Mercedes in San Francisco and firing his gun in the department elevator. Now, today, the top cop supporters, including the NAACP, say someone else needs to be investigated.
This is Oakland. If you want to pick a fight with somebody, Oakland is the wrong place to pick it.
A defiant Oakland police chief, LaRon Armstrong, surrounded by supporters days after he was put on leave for alleged officer misconduct under his watch.
Look at how weird this community is. They hate the cops, but then when Whitey go after a cop, then they get behind the cops.
Yeah, it's not. It's just literally Sun versus everybody. That's all that matters. Is it a Sun person?
Oh shit! I just read the title. NAACP supporting the police chief. Shit, man.
Yeah, man.
This is Twilight Zone.
Well, and if the NAACP is supporting the police chief, you know the color of the officer in question.
Yeah, exactly.
You say they shot his gun in the elevator?
In
the department elevator, and he hit a Mercedes.
How the fuck do you do that?
Get mad, get upset about something.
You sue Sig Sawyer. That's what you do.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. This is it's just bizarre, man. And I'm a Son too, man. And sometimes just because I know why all these people are support. They fucking detest this guy because he's a cop. But now that it's just like with Bill Cosby. They hated Bill Cosby because he kept telling them to pull their pants up and shit. As soon as Bill Cosby got in trouble with the law, they all fucking rallied.
Cosby was framed by Gloria Allred.
Yeah. They all rallied around him.
All liars and whores, he's accused. Every single one of them. And mad women.
Okay.
Media witch hunt.
All right, man.
This is Oakland. If you want to pick a fight with somebody, Oakland is the wrong place to pick it.
A defiant Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong, surrounded by supporters days after he was put on leave for alleged officer misconduct under his watch.
Are you going to fight with us? Are you going to do whatever necessary to do? Are you going to be afraid?
A diverse show of solidarity for the chief outside the Alameda County Courthouse near Lake Merritt in Oakland.
Reinstate Chief Armstrong so he can get back to the business of meeting the public safety needs of our constituents. Thank you.
Carl Chan, president of the Oakland Chinatown Chamber of Commerce, says Armstrong has supported the Asian community as it grappled with hate crimes.
For all this time, you have our back. But today is our turn to say that we have your back. Let's bring back Chief Armstrong.
He embodies character, integrity, wisdom, and most importantly, strength. Right now, we need a strong leader.
And have it taken away from you hurts. Doesn't just hurt me, it hurts my community.
The chief says it's unfair to sideline him when he's trying to improve the department.
I recognize that there's been problems over the years. I'm trying to fix the problem. I need your help. I need your support. We can't allow these things like this to get in our way.
So you know what? Here's the thing, though. They know that if they get rid of him, they gotta hire a black person to replace him. There's no way they could. So that Sun Tiger lady that was in the last clip, I guarantee you, she's the next chief. I promise. If this guy gets fired, I promise you, she's gonna be the next chief. And then all of a sudden, people will be like, all right, fuck it, cool. But they really don't care about this guy. They only care that he's black.
Things like this to get in our way.
We demand that he be exonerated. I said exonerated. We don't want nothing ruining his reputation.
Some took aim at Robert Warsaw, the independent monitor who, along with his firm, is paid $1 million a year to highlight problems at the department.
We have a white overseer.
It's all race. This is what gliders have to understand. It's nothing to do with facts. It's all race. All the time, every issue, it's all race.
They've been asking for oversight of the police department. They've been demanding it. They've been chasing cops around, fucking busting cops' balls for fucking last 10, 12 years. And now this is the fucking oversight that found a black cop did something wrong.
Thing is, it's
Yeah,
probably
but he has to be black. You know, the public defender has to be black. The judge needs to be black. The cops need to be black. You know, it literally needs to be Jamaica before these people stop blaming race.
Oh no! Even then, they won't do that because there's going to be somebody white in the chain.
Yeah, they'll. I mean, Jamaica and Haiti. If you ask them what the problem is, they still say the white man. It's always the white man. It's never not going to be the white man.
TCT, your device is not connected. You got to connect your device, TCT. Your device is not connected. Go ahead, Will.
Look at the weapons unit in Baltimore that was crooked. Look at the 5 guys from Memphis who just got fired. That's your black police force.
Yeah, because they know you got to be heavy-handed with the Sun Man. They know that.
look at any African police force.
Yeah, man. Everyone knows you gotta be heavy-handed with the Sun Man.
The department.
We have a white overseer over telling the black community what is best for them.
At an unrelated news conference at City Hall, Mayor Sheng Tao had this to say about the chief.
But at the end of the day, that's a personnel matter.
Mayor who? God damn, this place is a fucking mess, man.
At an unrelated news conference at City Hall, Mayor Sheng Tao had this to say about the chief.
You look like Shang's
But at the end
son.
of the day, that's a personnel matter, and we're going to leave it at that.
This afternoon, the federal judge overseeing Oakland police reforms had a hearing over Zoom. He said he was, quote, profoundly disappointed by the latest misconduct scandal that he said once again exposed the rot within the department. And Mayor Tao was at this hearing. She said she would not tolerate what she called toxic subcultures, but the judge did not make any ruling on whether to extend OPD's probationary period. The city will be back in court in April. Mike?
You could hear the mayor not giving a lot of words there.
that's hilarious because the federal oversight they begged for is now biting them in the ass.
Yeah, it's just like body cams. They beg for body cams,
Yep.
and every body cam shows a son man being a fucking jackass to the cop.
But just think about how racist that actually was. Or the only thing he could come up with, oh, it's a white guy. It's because you're white. That's the problem. You're white.
And he had no problem saying it.
No, I mean, like, that's outright racism.
This got to be the only black police chief that's being heralded, as a leader in the black community.
Oh yeah, the only one got the NAACP
on his side.
TCT, man. I think are you all right, man? You got something going on. TCT, what's up, man? TCT. All right, man.
He just muted up.
You muted yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's
Can you
up?
hear me?
What's going on? How you doing?
Man. All right, I finally got here, man. This is cool. Man, hey, long time listener, man. Been following the show. Yeah, I'm the guy. I'm stationed at Fort Rucker.
Okay, great, man. We got a lot of military guys up here. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, man. I can definitely tell there's a large military and law enforcement support presence here. But yeah, just wanted to give my 2 cents and a little bit of what I know about the soldier on soldier violence that happened here at Fort Rucker a couple of weeks ago. The way I found out about it was my wife was scrolling through Facebook and she was like, "Hey, did you know a soldier got murdered here a couple of days ago?" And I was like, "Nah." And so I work at the Warrant Officer Career College. So a lot of aviators, a lot of helicopter pilots and technical experts, they come here to become warrant officers. So I teach those guys. And so where I work, my building is no more than a rock's throw away from where those recruits. So what you have here is you have aviation students that come here to learn how to be aircraft mechanics or flight crew chiefs or anything to do with aviation, air traffic control, stuff like that, because Fort Rucker is home of Army aviation. And so we're in close proximity of those young troops. And so basically what happened was this one private killed another private. So if you've been in the Army for a while, I'm a Southerner. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've called into the show a few times asking you to do Baton Rouge or whatnot, drop super chats and stuff like that. But the one thing a lot of us Southerners tend to understand about Northerners, mainly Northeasterners, New York guys, New England guys, is they're a little cocky. And so this soldier that got killed was from New York City, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So there's probably a good chance he was talking a lot of cash money noise to this one kid, and he had enough, and his reaction was to hit him with the closest thing available, which is that e-tool or that shovel. So
the Army,
it's pretty sad, that this happened, but it's just one of the things that you guys tend to talk about on a nightly basis. It's, some of these Sun folks, man, gliders are getting fed up with them, and that's happening in every society that we have in this country. Not
so
just
in the Army, gliders are fed up, and they're showing it. They're actually showing their fed upness.
Most definitely. I'm a Sun man myself.
Give me an example how they're displaying publicly, or they're letting people know.
Because it's okay. So think about some of the programs that we have that you see affecting a lot of civilian organizations in the military. We consider minorities very often, and so we have so much in place to make sure women, people of color, people who are quote unquote disenfranchised get certain opportunities to lead. And a lot of times you'll have a platoon leader or a company commander or a battalion commander over 500 to 1,000 troops in charge by virtue of who they are versus what they may have. Now, there's a lot of times that they meet certain criteria, maybe a degree, maybe certain levels of training or whatnot. But then that black female lieutenant colonel might get to lead or might get, the opportunity to command a battalion before, say, a white male infantry lieutenant colonel by virtue of the Army saying, hey, we got to put these things in place. So to answer your question, a lot of times, these guys see that, and they see that, hey, this is the Army that our ancestors, built into the greatest fighting force in the world. And now we're just giving away opportunities. Not saying that some of these minorities and these females and these other disenfranchised quote unquote groups are undeserving, but I can rest
They're
assured
not
that a
the
lot.
top candidates. They're not the most qualified.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. In the Army, you'll see that a lot of brothers who come into the military, they don't come initially as combat arms, because a lot of us, we just want a job, right? When we go to recruiter, we want to be supply, or we want to be some type of support MOS. On the other hand, all of our Rangers, Special Forces, even our aviators, right? Because they got to take helicopters and fly them into Nasty Valley somewhere, right? A lot of those guys understand that there was an effort paid forward by their ancestors or the people before them. So there's a lot of pride with those guys that come in. And so when we essentially give away high demand positions, to people who might not necessarily have as much credentials as the other person, then a lot of these guys are really starting to, speak out against that. So when we have, certain training, which we will call consideration of others training, whether it's equal opportunity, whether it's sexual harassment prevention or something like that, you'll hear these guys really, really speak out on their discontent with how we seem to be giving things away to certain groups who might not necessarily,
Let me play this video right quick, man.
The
My
Army
bad.
Warrant
Go
Officer
ahead.
is a technical expert,
This you,
combat
right?
leader, trainer, and
Trainer and
advisor.
advisor through
Through
progressive
levels of
expertise
expertise and
and
assignments,
assignments.
training, and education,
Yeah.
the Warrant Officer administers, manages, maintains, operates, and integrates Army systems and equipment across unified land operations. Warrant Officers are innovative integrators of emerging technologies, dynamic teachers, confident warfighters, and developers of specialized teams of soldiers. They support a wide range of Army missions throughout their career. Warrant officers in the Army are assessed with specific levels of technical ability. They refine their technical expertise and develop their leadership and management skills through tiered progressive assignment and education. Warrant officer candidates are assessed according to the needs of the Army and their possession of specific levels of technical.
So basically, you telling me that all these white boys, it's gonna be a sister that's gonna be leading them in the fucking.
Yes. So half of those kids are pilots, right? They're here to become pilots, but then the other half of them are going to be technicals in they're going to be technical experts in a particular career field. So my particular career field is electronic maintenance. So if I'm an enlisted soldier, I have one certain piece of equipment that I might work on, one theory of operation, communications like radios and communications equipment, right? But when I become a warrant officer, I get all that stuff. I get communications equipment, I get night vision, I get optics, I get avionics stuff that comes out of an airplane and stuff like that. So now you're in charge of a broader spectrum of whatever your career management field is, and not just electronic maintenance, also dining facility. If you're a cook,
You're super qualified if you're one of these people.
Yes, you're very, very, very qualified, and you're just always getting educated.
And some sister who can't do 10 push-ups is gonna lead you in the battle.
And their possession of specific levels
she's gonna
of
lead
technical
that
skills.
electronic maintenance shop, because she can't do one pull-up on the new Army fitness test or something like that. Yeah.
After being selected for Warrant Officer training, they must then complete the Warrant Officer Candidate School known as WOCS at the Warrant Officer Career College, Fort Rucker, Alabama.
Warrant Officer Candidate School is a 5-week course where we continue to assess each candidate on their leadership abilities and competencies. Every candidate, when they go through this course, will serve in a leadership role, and they will get counseled on their total performance. And we start with the basis of their individual development plan while serving here at Candidate School.
During their WOCS training, faculty and staff members assess each candidate's mental capacity, emotional strength, and physical stamina to determine if they can meet and maintain the stringent standards necessary for them to effectively serve with dynamic operating environments in which the Army performs its missions.
Being a warrant officer means being knowledgeable in your field. It means being...
So she could possibly be the leader or the whatever.
No, she will be the commander if she feels like it.
This
But
is
look,
why we will lose the next war.
I think I've been there.
so this is what I will say. This is what I will say. So a lot of what I pretty much what you'll have is you'll have fully qualified individuals, right? And then by virtue of the army saying, hey, or the military saying, hey, we need to put certain people in position to because we want to show face. We want to save face with what society is clamoring for. We'll probably not get the best person for it. Doesn't mean that they might not be qualified. Because here the thing is, at the Warrant Officer Career College, all of these soldiers are very, very good at what they do. It's just that we have some soldiers who are more deserving or more credentialed that might not get the opportunity because the Army might say, hey, we have to put a certain number of minorities or disenfranchised people in a position.
Wow, this sister leading these guys.
That's why I only turned in one warrant officer packet while I was in my 10 years.
What did you do?
Excuse me?
What was your job, man?
I was a 67 Romeo. Now it would be a 15 Romeo, Apache helicopter mechanic.
Okay, so you was at Fort Rucker for a while.
No, I'm way back when AIT was at Fort Eustis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I've been to Rucker on different assignments though.
Mayo's 75 years old.
Oh yeah,
No.
Mayo's the man, man. I listen to Mayo when he's in here every night, man. He brings it. And there's a lot of guys like Mayo that are still in right now that have the grievances and complaints that he has, and I think is legitimate.
Well, I'll give you my thing. All right. I just got my E4. I aced the FAST test, which is the aviation skills test to go to warrant officer course. Had a 290 PT, 121 GT score, and I got qualified non-select for warrant officer candidate school. In the same class, a female with 2 waivers and a GT score of 105, who was a TAMS clerk in the motor pool, got picked up for that same class.
Well, and you know what's crazy? Like they won't necessarily come out and say that, but you'll see it because I've seen this in my career. I've seen guys who can't get promoted and they can't get advancement or they can't get certain opportunities, but they are the best at what they do. Because it all starts with having a foundational understanding of we need to do what we got to do to get the job done. So when I was trying to make the point about, when you see your special forces and some of your combat arms guys, these guys had grandfathers and great grandfathers and great great grandfathers that served in all of these wars. So when they come to the military, they're coming with the expectation of, hey, look, if I have to sacrifice my life, in order for our country to continue to have the success that it has, then that's what they're signing up for. A lot of us, like I said, even when I signed up for the Army 23 years ago, I just wanted a job, But since I've been in, of course, I've gained a level of patriotism that I thought. But a lot of brothers and a lot of minorities and a lot of sisters, when we come in, we don't initially have the same level of patriotism that a lot of guys have. And going back to the incident, you like I said, you just probably have a situation where, you have two clashing personalities from different places, and unfortunately, you just have an untimely death.
Wow. Well, let me just play a little bit more of this video, then we'll get back to
with dynamic operating environments in which the Army performs its missions.
Being a warrant officer means being knowledgeable in your field. It means being a leader of moral and ethical character. It means being a part of something bigger than yourself, and it means being a member of a team.
The United States Army Warrant Officer Candidate School provides qualified military personnel an opportunity to become Army warrant officers in continued service to the nation and our Army. To qualify, applicants must meet specific mental, moral, and physical requirements to serve as an Army warrant officer.
Upon completion of Warrant Officer Candidate School, Graduates will have gained a new.
Now you got Rosalinda, man. You got Sharonda and Rosalinda, man. Lead y'all in the battle, man.
Dude, when I was we were going through evaluations, like they were giving all the females top marks. Oh no, and even the ones you know for a fact should not be getting what they're getting.
Oh, the ones that get profiles so they don't have to take the PT test. The ones that get pregnant right before deployments and then magically a month later they're not pregnant anymore.
Oh shit.
It's a mess, man. It's a mess.
Yeah, man. We're fucked, man. Let's get back to Oakland. Man, thank you a lot for your insight, man. TCT, man. Give it up for TCT, man. Thank you, man. Oh man, that was deep, man. Whew. It's not looking good out here, man. Yeah, he dropped down. Okay. Yeah, it's not looking good out here, man. Whew. I think Fisherman just dropped off to go cry, man. It's rough out here, man. God damn.
Cold as ice, Ock.
It's rough, man. I mean, listen, man, it is, man. It's rough, man. Let's check out Des Moines on that story we did the other day that Will Keeps the rapper activist, man. We started that school, man. Let's see what's going on, man. We're over there at Des Moines with the situation they had yesterday, man. All right, let's see.
A deadly shooting at a nonprofit educational program in Des Moines. 18-year-old Preston Walls is charged. 2 students were killed in Monday's shooting at Starts Right Here. Program CEO and well-known activist Will Keeps is recovering at a Des Moines hospital right now. Authorities say Keeps was injured while trying to stop the deadly attack. The 2 male students killed were 16 and 18 years old. This morning, police said 2 other people in custody were released without charges. Classes are.
See, now here's the thing. This big Negro was supposed to put this dude in the Fort Nelson, and he probably was trying to, like, you know what I mean, like be fair and judicious, probably separate them. If this kid was being all like that at the center, man, he's supposed to put that dude in the Fort Nelson and dragged his ass to the office and called the police. But they try this, you know, all right, y'all, you go over there and you go over there. Next thing you know, he's shooting.
Killed were 16 and 18 years old. This morning, police said 2 other people in custody were released without charges. Classes are canceled for the rest of the week at the organization. Shaken parents tell KCCI it's devastating. Something so tragic happened what was deemed a safe spot for students.
He tried to make this program for these kids. Like, the dude got it going on. He got studio, everything in there for them kids, for them to come in there and act like that.
Police say the shooting was gang-related and the result of an ongoing dispute. And while Starts Right Here is closed the rest of the week, grief counselors will be available at the Kurtz building on Porter Avenue today to meet with students. Keeps open the Starts Right Here location in 2019. KCCI was there, and that's the footage you're seeing now. The goal is to work with Des Moines Public Schools to serve as a diversion program for kids going through the juvenile justice system. It consists of classrooms, office space, music studios, and a gym.
Some man tried, man. They in the fucking hospital and shit.
Rising Crime News did a story on this, and they looked into it. Since 2019, that school has graduated 13 students.
Well, hold on. Here's the thing, though, Mayo. That might not necessarily be a dereliction of duty on that guy's part.
Oh, no, it's not on him. It's not on him at all. That falls on the students.
Yeah, look at what you're working with, man. You're working with fucking. It's not much, man.
These are the kids that every other school is kicked out, and you know what you got to do to get kicked out of a school.
Exactly. Oh yeah. You gotta be fucking terrorist to get kicked out.
Yeah, you got to be multiple felon on school property to get kicked out of a school today.
CCI team coverage begins tonight with the deadly shooting yesterday. It starts right here, Youth Outreach Center. In the last few hours, the Des Moines police have released more information about the teenage victims and the suspect. The two teenagers killed are 18-year-old Gianni Dameron and 16-year-old Rashad Carr. Will Keeps, a community activist and the founder of Starts Right Here, was also seriously injured. Keeps was severely hurt. He remains in a Metro hospital tonight. Police say this was a gang-related shooting. An 18-year-old is now charged. KCCI's James Stratton walks us through how this shooting happened, step by step.
And Steve, the criminal complaint that we read this morning says 18-year-old Preston Wall cut off an ankle monitor that he was wearing just 16 minutes before that shooting, walked into a common area at Starts Right Here, right behind me, and started shooting. That criminal complaint also...
He cut off his ankle bracelet. What's up, Fabian, man? Fabian in the building, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Ain't nothing, man. What's new, man? What you been up to, man?
Not a lot. Pretty uneventful. Just hanging out. I'm on the West Coast, so I've been enjoying the not very wintry weather. Some rain, but you know.
Well, what do you think about this case, man?
This one you got up right now?
Yeah, or any case, whatever you want to talk about.
I mean, this one actually, I was kind of distracted just now. I was puttering around and stuff, so I didn't actually catch the setup.
Well, this is a son, man, started a school for at-risk kids.
Okay.
And one of the kids came to school, shot it up, and killed two students. Shot him too. He's in the hospital recovering.
Sure. I mean, yeah, sounds about right. I usually think about this kind of thing for a few minutes on a given day, and I guess the kind of picture that I have in my head has been evolving, in ways, but it's more of kind of just like an overall picture that sort of covers any given incident, such as this or such as any of the many that arise. And I think as you've kind of mentioned, the way that I kind of talk to myself about it is maybe a little bit obscure. I don't hear a lot of the same sort of terms and factors coming into the sort of main thrust of the way people talk about it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere because people study evolutionary psychology and things like that, but I don't. So I'm just going off of a combination of my own kind of putting together my own observations and then gleaning little bits of what people say here and there who are more popularizers of those kinds of academic fields of study. And actually I mentioned at a super chat the other day, I was like, and the reason my super chat was kind of cryptic was because I was broke. So I could only say so many words, but I said, check out my comment on the 14-year-old. And then I realized, I looked back and there's like, I don't know how many videos of yours in the span of that month had featured like a 14-year-old. But this one, somebody was commenting on, some Sun people killed some Sun person and were seen to be laughing about it. And my comment was about how let me see if I can remember it. When your people's behavior fulfills a kind of evolutionary imperative that's been woven into your psychology over thousands of years. And when you live in a culture that resonates with and upholds your natural tendencies, then your brain chemistry is going to be well regulated. You're going to feel comfortable in that situation. If you're displaced into a different culture that is set up for people with a different kind of brain, you're going to feel dysregulated. And I always argue, and I don't know if I mentioned this before here, but I always argue that when people talk about some people being oppressed in other kind, European or kind of post-European or cultures, they're not wrong, but it's on a neurochemical level that because the cultural environment that they are called upon to engage with isn't quite hitting, the targets in their brains, because they were evolved to negotiate status with each other along very different lines than they're called upon to do according to the culture that they're living in as coded in the statutes of law. So there's always a clash between the way that, especially Sun people communities, not just a given Sun person here or there, but when you get, a certain critical mass of Sun people in a community, how they naturally come to build their relationships in negotiating status between each other is going to clash with the larger European cultural environment. And anyway, I guess the point is that that process is happening on a neurochemical level. So when Sun people, what I was saying about that video, when they were seen to laugh, I suspect that in a lot of cases, when Sun people are in a situation where they act in a way that they were evolved to act with each other in signaling dominance, which they do obviously very differently than glacier gliders do. It regulates their neurochemistry and they feel more comfortable. And so there's this tension and struggle going on with, I think, Sun people on average or in general, that I think that is different than the way gliders feel when they're negotiating a kind of European culture that was built according to their psychological makeup.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I get what you said. I would be hard pressed to find out. Hit one if you got what he said. I got it, but it was kind of like,
Basically, what he's saying is it's in the DNA.
Yeah, exactly.
Some wires were crossed at birth.
Yeah.
Injured. Keeps was severely hurt. He remains in a Metro hospital tonight. Police say this was a gang-related shooting. An 18-year-old is now charged. KCCI's James Stratton walks us through how this shooting happened, step by step.
And Steve, the criminal complaint that we read this morning says 18-year-old Preston Wall cut off an ankle monitor that he was wearing just 16 minutes before that shooting, walked into a common area at Starts Right Here, right behind me, and started shooting. That criminal complaint also alleges that he intended to shoot the two that he also allegedly killed. Those two, as you mentioned, 18-year-old Gianni Dameron and 16-year-old Rashad Carr. Starts Right Here founder Will Keefe severely hurt in serious condition tonight, according to his family. 18-year-old Preston Walls charged with murder, attempted murder, and criminal gang participation. He was on probation for drug charges and on pretrial release for interference with official acts with a firearm, the reason he had that ankle monitor on in the first place. Starts Right Here is a nonprofit where DMPS students get individualized learning plans to help them keep and get the credits that they may need to graduate. We spoke with interim superintendent Matt Smith this afternoon, who said DMPS is just devastated by what happened yesterday.
It's hard to put into words, the pain students and staff are feeling. None of us are ever going to get used to this. It hadn't even been a year since a shooting on the campus of East High School.
And that shooting on the campus of East High School also killed one. Starts Right Here is closed for the rest of the week. We're told students get individualized learning plans here behind me. It's not as simple as just putting them back into their home high school like Lincoln or East or wherever that may be. So the staff from DMPS who also work at Starts Right Here will be reaching out to them individually for lesson plans and learning plans, hopefully virtually, along, of course, with any counseling that the students who witnessed the shooting here may need. We're live for you tonight in Des Moines. I'm James Stratton, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
Street, not far from Principal Park.
So Starts Right Here is on Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway. Oh, God, you can't make this shit up. Boy Kachina says, tigers snap before gliders or patels and prairie peeps. This glider needs to step off the stage like the West Side Story. Hey, Oakland Nation. I think he's talking about you, Fabian, man. But yeah, Fabian.
What does that mean? What does that even mean?
Fabian, he just telling you. They said basically said you were kind of long-winded on that last one.
No, I know. Yeah, no, that's my own shortcut. I'm not in the swim of this kind of interface.
Yeah,
I'm not used to it.
No, you just don't like to.
You
You don't like to be misunderstood.
No, you cool. I mean,
Well, and I mean also too, it's like these things hit my brain intelligibly, but when I try to make them come out of the mouth part, it gets, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean I understand what you're saying. I mean just like take this school for instance. This school for wayward teens and whatnot, kids in the criminal justice system. These kids, it's hard for some kids to be in this environment and think that they're in school. Of course, they think that they're in the streets because everybody in there is in a gang or in a clique or in a crew. It's got to be fucking terribly difficult for them to operate as if they're in a fucking school.
Well, and I mean, you've said it before. It's like the way that what that means to be in the streets, how the streets work, why the streets are what they are, is an externalization of the way that their minds work. It's not the other way around.
Can you give us that really quickly? Can you try to? Or
was I too quiet?
No, I said, can you give us the streets? Because I remember you told about the streets one time.
Well, no, I'm just referring to what you said. Like they feel as though they're in the streets, as in their natural tendency is to behave with each other as though they're in the streets as opposed to in school, for example, right?
Yeah.
But what that mean, when you say in the streets, we know what that means. It's a certain kind of sizing each other up, and it's certain kind of flexing on people, and it's a way to display your dominance and compete.
It's a raw survival mode.
Right, but the reason why we know what that means, we have an image in our head of, oh, these guys they're street people, or they have a street mentality. Well, the reason that means something, the streets, what that is just an externalization of how their minds work. If their minds work differently, the streets would be something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, so I'm just referring to how you'll say that the people make the culture don't make the people.
Right. Exactly.
And the way that the people have evolved to interact with each other over tens of thousands of years, they've only been in America for a few hundred. But that way of interaction is what makes the streets the streets. And that's why they, have a tendency to treat whatever environment they're in that way.
Right.
On the west side of the Des Moines River. The program is designed for older teenage Des Moines Public School students who need to make up credits to graduate from high school. Starts Right Here aids them and also helps those with behavioral issues that prevented them from succeeding in a traditional classroom setting. Founder Will Keeps opened the school to show these kids a path out of violence and gang activity. KCCI's Laura Terrell is learning more tonight about how Will Keeps is doing. Laura, what have you learned?
Well, Steve, we know he is recovering here at Methodist Medical Center. His friends tell us he is going to be okay physically, but is heartbroken. His family also revealing that he is in serious but stable condition. The family released a statement today saying in part, even though Will is severely injured, he's now more determined than ever to continue with his work with at-risk youth and looks forward to once again working hand in hand with other community leaders on the mission of Starts Right Here. Now, today, Governor Reynolds commented on Will Keeps' recovery. The two are close friends and have worked together on a number of projects. The governor got emotional. Take a listen.
He's a really good friend of mine, and this is a man that has
fought every single day to really help these kids that are at risk, to help them get a GED, to help them get training, to help them get a job. And it was so important to Will that they had a beautiful facility to go to so that these kids felt that this was better than being on the streets and being part of a gang and being involved in drugs.
Now, what do you think about that? Like this state-of-the-art community school they built for these kids, all the bells and whistles, everything they need, studio, state-of-the-art gymnasium, brand new everything, computer room, da 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 da, and it still wasn't enough to curtail any of this.
I think it only needs one thing. We just gotta get a more advanced, more state of the art system.
Well, it's like
I think there should be a vetting process for who gets into that school. It should be more scrutinized.
Well, too, it's all based on the premise that everybody's exactly the same, and so gliders think like, well, in order for me to behave like this, I would have to be deprived, and I would have to be this and that, and so they keep trying to patch it up in ways that make sense to them. It's like, well, what would I? They're just projecting a mentality that is not what they're actually dealing with.
Yeah, like none of that stuff means anything to some people. We would never, you can, no matter how much stuff, you can't buy your way. They always say you can't arrest your way out of the situation. You can't buy your way out of the situation. Salute the Deluxe 247, aka Cal Ripken, aka the real MVP.
Well, I think of the one we did a couple days ago on the Sappers. They're perfectly happy, just they're flexing their fancy clothes and living in poverty.
Abject poverty. Those guys live in abject poverty, not just poverty. Not like what you would call a poor person here. They live in abject poverty. Salute to David for the Cash App. Salute to Aaron for the $1 Cash App. Yeah, they live in abject poverty and they're cool. Just walking around town. The part that about those Congo dandies that's the most disturbing to me is that their kids literally drink peanut water and eat stale bread for fucking dinner every night. And it's like 5 or 6 kids in a fucking 1-bedroom fucking house. Everybody sleeps in the same room. The floors are made of dirt. And this fucker's walking around in fucking $800 shoes and shit. In fucking $2,000 suit.
1,300 pound, or 1,300 euros, and that's more than dollars, I think, currently.
Yeah.
And this is a man that has fought every single day to really help these kids that are at risk, to help them get a GED, to help them get training, to help them get a job. And it was so important to Will that they had a beautiful facility to go to so that these kids felt that this was better than being on the streets and being part of a gang and being involved in drugs. And so I just hope, we're going to do everything we can to get him healthy and well and to get him back in there so that he has every opportunity to continue to have these at-risk kids.
She's far too compassionate.
And keeps his family.
Well, I mean, her friend is laid up in a fucking hospital, man.
No. I'm not talking about what she's talking about, her friend who's hurt. I'm talking about the way she describes these poor kids. Like
they're at risk.
You used to seeing sisters not cry when their kids get murdered in broad daylight. This is the normal reaction, boss.
So that he has every opportunity to continue to have these at-risk kids.
And keeps his family, says he has a long road to recovery, but they are appreciative of the care that he is receiving. Reporting live in Des Moines, Laura Terrell, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
Salute to August West, man. Appreciate you, man. Salute to you, bro. Salute to you too. Let's see. Alejandro Miz says Dr. Umar ain't got nothing Will Keeps, he at least opened the school and tried. Yeah, Will Keeps found a way to open the school, man. Salute to Will Keeps, man. This story is heartbreaking, man. That brother literally was doing what, what I'm saying. He was doing it, man. And he got fucking when they say serious, I hope he can recover. I hope he's not like in a wheelchair. No.
KCCI's Laura Terrell is live now at Iowa Methodist Medical Center downtown with an update on Keeps' condition.
Yes, Steve, Keeps is recovering here at Methodist. His family says he is in serious but stable condition. His friends say physically he will eventually heal, but emotionally he is heartbroken.
I don't think his spirit's broken. I think his heart is broken.
Fellow activist Akeo Abdul Samad says his friend Will Keeps is struggling with the pain of losing two of his students right inside a building that was supposed to be a safe place for them.
It wasn't his fault at all. And we don't want to put that blame.
Look, what does this guy's hat say?
Make racism wrong again. Some bullshit.
Stupid.
And like I think Fabian, what he said, like, you cannot fix this. There are people that are trying to like think, oh, if we do this, you can't. This is tribalism, man. This is people who evolved in small bands, groups. The idea of a country can only exist with outside, hands-on outside interference and just basically just doing it for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people would live in small groups, 5,000 maybe tops, in little villages separated from each other, and that would be the highest form of society that we would create. What do you think about that, Fabian?
I don't think that's the most central difference. Because in those kinds of societies too, the way that violence is distributed, violence takes place in sanctioned situations, and status is negotiated directly through violence and the threat of violence. So it's just expected. And that's why it's like you see all these news stories, and it's like the way people respond to these things, even when people are complaining or crying or whatever, people come on and say, like, this needs to stop. Well, how many times do you see a story and somebody comes out, some community person or whatever, and is giving a big speech, and it's like, this needs to stop. This is the day we say no more. It's like they say the exact same things decade after decade after decade after decade, and none of it ever makes a dent in anything. And it's just a soundtrack to a situation that nonetheless you expect on an instinctive level. They expect it's wired into the
genome.
It's wired into the genes to expect the society around you to be regulated by a certain amount and ferocity of violence.
Yeah.
And so there's no deep shock of it. It's like gliders. It's like you see all these videos of like Sun people just having huge brawls, and the people that are on the sidelines or the people that are filming it are saying in every single one, they all say the exact same thing. They're laughing, they're exuberant, etc. The average glider, if somebody, especially somebody they know, gets into like a physical fight in front of them, that's appalling. That's shocking. Because it's woven into different people to expect the society around them to be regulated by different kinds of processes. And some people are evolved to expect the societies around them to be regulated through direct physical force.
I mean, I understand that, and I at times I say that a lot on the panel. I think violence needs to be used in many situations when you have to respond to violence. But I think, but I do just see what you're talking about, where it's.
But glider society isn't built with the expectation of violence being the default response to any kind of dispute. There's a whole enormous, complicated, overcomplicated, top-heavy rigmarole of just look at how friggin' complicated it is just to adjudicate a single somebody for street crime. All of the steps, all of the processes, all of the layers. I mean, in pre-colonial Africa, it's such a night and day difference.
Well, that's because it's a concern for innocence. You don't want to harm the wrong person. So you spend a lot of time figuring out what, gathering evidence and
some people don't care. We wouldn't
things.
care if we killed. We wouldn't care if someone did a crime and we grabbed the wrong person and tied them up and tortured them for 3 hours and set them on fire and found out it was actually they didn't do it. We wouldn't give a fuck.
Right, because the point there isn't being fair. The point is that hey, regardless of who did what, I live and you die. That's how that society works. And it's like, that's good enough. That's cool. And that ties back into the way the brain is constructed, on the basis of the way that the organism reproduces optimally for its environment. And that's just different for different people who evolved in different situations.
Then how does that explain the efficiency of violence with gliders?
What's that?
How does that explain the efficiency of violence when it comes to gliders?
Well, there's not an absence of violence. It's just that it has a different place in the society. And status is negotiated through different means.
But I'm talking about the efficiency of it. Like we talked about with some violence, like the one in Chicago, or just for example, like 50 shots can be fired, and only 2 of them actually hit a person. But
that's because
gliders they're meticulous. They aim.
Yeah.
They consider all this stuff before they commit to it, and they're effective at it.
Yeah, well, on average for gliders, that degree of violence is an extreme case. On average for some people, that degree of violence is just another day in Blackistan. It's another day negotiating status in your cohort.
But I'm saying this. But the severity of the violence when it comes from gliders,
Yeah.
just speaking in general, it's far more effective. It's highly effective.
Because you have to want, as a glider, in order to get to that point, you have to. It's a severe situation. You have to want it. This is what you have to want to do, and you're in a very unusual mode for gliders to be in. For some people, the mode. I'm not saying that's the whole mode of some people, but it's just not as unusual. Because it's tied into other things, like going out and shooting a gun around, regardless of who you hit. In some communities, is also about just showing up as a macho person who's willing to just go wild and do crazy, risky stuff. For gliders, that's just not a normal way to negotiate status in your cohort. Something really extreme has to be happening in your life for you to get to the point when you're going to go out and shoot. So if you've gotten to that point, then you're out there in order to try to, to shoot and kill. And so that's all the energy is aimed at achieving that goal. Whereas the energy, if some people are out, shooting guns, showing up, drive-by, spraying bullets into a crowd, whatever, they're just flexing in the community. Just like when somebody drives by playing like heavy bass and they've got their windows tinted and they're leaning and they're sagging. These are all, it's part of the style of status negotiation.
Gotcha.
Can I say
he has enough
it was
pain.
thousands of years of organized violence that the gliders did in order to organize and guide the violence, and that is kind of the way they were, as opposed to sun violence, which was more random.
Well, in order for gliders also to survive over that time, they had to develop other means of interacting with groups around them besides just having border skirmishes and winning tests of violence. They had to develop really complex and nuanced modes of cooperation. So it's just a different recipe.
And that will always be on his heart, on the memory every time he walks into his school. He's got to live with that.
It's still unclear what injuries Keeps sustained in the gunfire, but his family said Tuesday the rapper is in serious but stable condition.
He's a really good friend of mine.
Governor Kim Reynolds fought back tears inside the State House Tuesday. She and Keeps have worked together on several projects.
I have been a huge supporter of his and the program, as well as so many other people, for such a long time. He has resources in there. He provides mental health counseling for these kids, the job opportunities, and just somebody to believe in him. So it's really, my heart just breaks. I know I'm going to I'll talk to him today. But I know he's heartbroken that this happened. And I know he'll do everything he can to make it right.
Family and friends of Keeps now saying this violence won't stop him from continuing to carry out his mission of helping at-risk kids.
Okay, let's go to Seattle, man. Let's see Seattle, man, because there's a lot going on up in the Northwest, man. We got Fabian in the building. We got the Ock Nation legend, Fabian, man. Been a while since he's been on here, but it's a lot going on in the Northwest. A lot going on. I wanted to see what you think about this. What you guys think about this?
This is one of those kids stealing kids. I swear, I'm gonna crack your phone.
They're called the TikTok Kia Boys. Teens like these four stealing cars and using them to commit violent crimes. Good evening and thank you for joining us for the Spotlight. I'm David Rose. The next time you see a Kia or a Hyundai with a broken window and without a license plate, it's probably a stolen car. And driving this crime trend is TikTok.
You don't need a Kia,
No joke.
You should override it, bro.
Damn. That's what the Kia boys doing, man.
The social media platform is brimming with Kia and Hyundai hack videos. The clips show how to hotwire the vehicles using just a USB cable.
Now, gliders would have never thought that when Al Gore invented the internet, he didn't foresee this, right, Fabian?
No, I mean, in general, when gliders innovate and when they contribute to the contour of their culture, they project their mentality into it. And that mentality includes an automatic degree of conscientiousness and that kind of instinctive need to be cooperative and agreeable. So yeah, they don't necessarily think of these kinds of things.
Salute to MILF Mandy. MILF Mandy says it's pretty sad. Some people won't teach their own kids how to be human before they become everyone else's problem. Well, I mean, MILF Mandy, some people, it's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, but human is subjective though in this case.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're a sister and you're raising kids in the projects, man, it does no good for them to be fucking fair-minded and balanced and reasoned and great people and shit like that.
Just a USB cable. The technique takes advantage of a design flaw in the ignition systems of both brands of vehicles. The Kia Boys meme began in the Midwest back in 2021, but it has spread coast to coast since then. Kias or Hyundais now account for 21% of car thefts in Philly, 33% of the thefts in Minneapolis, 45% of the thefts in Columbus, Ohio, and 49% in Grand Rapids. And listen to this, a whopping 58% of stolen cars in Milwaukee are Kias or Hyundais. Those aren't the top targets in our region quite yet, but the numbers just obtained by the Spotlight show it's only a matter of time. Since the start of this year, the Pierce County Sheriff's Department says they have reports of 47 Kias and Hyundais that were either stolen or had their windows broken and ignitions damaged. That's more than 2 taken every day this month. And some of them are used in violent crimes. Tacoma police say the Kia at the gas station we showed you was used just a few hours earlier in a drive-by shooting. And tonight, the woman who took that video as she confronted those teens is telling her story exclusively to the Spotlight.
What'd you do? Steal it?
When a food delivery driver and her husband were almost hit twice by these teens in a stolen Kia Forte with the blanket over the broken side window, they called 911. When no officers showed up, Shannon says she got out and started taking video of.
Now, if these kids will put this online and show themselves, like they're probably doing a live stream while they're riding around in the fucking car. You doing this puts you in. This woman is lucky she's not dead.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, what makes her do that? Is she fed up? Like, what's on her mind?
Yeah, I would think so.
White savior complex getting in there. Just I've got to save the community from this thing, or I gotta confront them and tell them the wrongs of their ways. And like,
well, the news. Wait, she's a person who. What was her story? She's been victimized in some way. So
they almost hit her twice.
Right.
Driving, they almost hit her twice.
Yeah, no, she's just not having it. She's indignant about that. She wants something to be done about it.
Mr. Foe in the chat says that she has a gun in her purse.
Hopefully.
Those kids stealing kids. I swear, I'm gonna crack your phone.
She has 3 teens and wanted their parents to see what these kids were doing.
They definitely are dangerous kids.
Shannon says the guy in the Santa hat got really angry.
He goes up to the car and lifts up the blanket. And when he lifts up the blanket, he yelled at the kids that, we should jump this B word. And all the kids got out of the car.
She says they started coming towards her. She had her purse with her gun inside.
I have a concealed
Wow, you called that one.
weapons
Shout to
permit.
Mr. Foe.
And I told them that they need to not come at me aggressively or make me fearful for my life. And at that point, I think they kind of got the hint and they started heading back towards the car.
What she didn't know at the time is that Tacoma police say these teens had just committed a serious felony crime.
They shot into an occupied residence. Thankfully, no one was struck by.
And that's another thing, Fabian. The shooting of the house, that's almost a 99% Sunman crime in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a problem with you, and I shoot the house that you're in. I just shoot up the house.
This is I think I'm part of the mismatch that I think you've mentioned. Some people did not evolve to expect to be able to get away with the kind of shit that people are allowed to get away with in glider societies. Because glider societies being built for people who aren't inclined to just flex as far as they possibly can and not stop until their behavior is regulated through violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So since some people have evolved that way, and they find that their behavior is not immediately regulated through violence, they're being told, they're being slapped on the wrist, they're being given a court date. It's like what? Like a future date I'm supposed to show, it's like as opposed to you have a tire full of gasoline around your neck and you're getting stones thrown at your head. It's like, no, here's a piece of paper with a date and you're being, you know what I'm saying? Now, you go home and play Xbox and do what you do. And then on this date, I mean, the gulf, the psychological gulf between those two worlds. Yeah. I think that, some people in America, it's just like, nature. Yeah, well, and the thing is, I work with small children and I see that small children are wired to push as far as they possibly can against boundaries in the environment until they simply cannot. And so just suggesting things doesn't mean anything, because then if you suggest something, they still have to test. They have to do the thing that they're being asked not to do in order to test what does that mean. And if they find it doesn't really mean much, they're just going to keep pushing. And some people in America are like this. They're in like a wilderness. They've emerged from the womb of Africa, I suppose you could say. And they're in a land where they have to try to test, okay, according to their evolved psychology, okay, how does this environment work? Where are the the boundaries. What is going to regulate my behavior? And they find systems of behavior regulation that don't resonate with the way that they have evolved to interact. And so they just are compelled to just like, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I shoot into a house? Can I rape? Can I rob? Can I, it's like, yeah, apparently, yeah. And so they don't have, in other words, they're not equipped like gliders are with an internal self-regulatory system that has evolved in the course of needing to build really complex structures of cooperation and honor and honesty and stuff like that. It's just not in there. It's a different machinery.
Wow. Yeah, that was very interesting.
Serious felony crime.
They shot into an occupied residence. Thankfully, no one was struck by these bullets, but we are trying to identify them so they can be taken into custody and go to court for these charges.
Deputies found the stolen Kia abandoned in Lakewood. Then police learned the kid in the red, just 13 years old, was the victim of a shooting the next day. He was already charged with possession of a stolen vehicle and wanted for 2 robberies.
We are taking juveniles into custody for some very serious crimes.
But then he was released on electronic home monitoring.
I just think that.
Yeah, so that's what you're talking about. Like, yeah, he
And
would
he'd still be alive if they'd kept him in prison.
Yeah, well, he would be dead. And the chief, the whoever was the charge of the village, they would have he would have already been dead.
Well, this is the thing. Like in the societies that were built around Sun people's actual mode of existence, their phenotype, the use of violence is given to it. How do you say it? It's distributed in a reasonable way for that society, so that people grow up already knowing that, and so they're not going to go around doing all this crazy stuff, or they already understand the risk that they take if they're going to go out and compete for dominance through this kind of audacious behavior.
Right.
It wouldn't occur to them to mess around like that because they already know. They see it all around them all the time. People getting chopped to pieces for far lesser infractions.
Yeah.
Parents really need to pay attention to their kids a lot more.
In Africa, if a lion cub goes and tries to eat before the lion, the king there, then he gets killed. So the mothers have to lead the cubs away from the kill until the lion has had its fill, and then they can come back and eat. They get eat last.
Right.
More than they do these days.
White pig. Shannon says she wasn't bothered by what the teen called her, but she is upset about the current catch and release policies.
If they're in the car that they've stolen and then they run from the police can't pull them over, not unless they've done something and they know they have. So then they just run. They can't do anything. And then if they do catch them, then the police can't talk to them because of the laws in Washington. And so they can only talk to them with a lawyer, and the lawyer's just going to tell the kids not to talk. So, and then even if they get charges, they don't arrest them. They just let them go free.
Deputies say the teens are often runaways, homeless, and couch surfing.
Well, they get arrested, they let them out, and then they go steal a car again and get arrested and then let them out. It's crazy.
Tacoma police put out this Crime Stoppers flyer asking for the public's help to identify the teens responsible for the drive-by shooting. Photos they have only because Shannon took action.
I mean, I feel bad for them. They're teenagers, and they do bad things.
Just this past weekend, Pierce County Sheriff's deputies say they were called to 2 more violent crimes involving teens in stolen Kias. 3 suspects robbed a 17-year-old who was autistic in front of his own home in Spanaway.
Yeah, now that right there, that lack of, we saw that like that lack of understanding, man. Or you rob an autistic kid, they're what I mean.
I mean, one thing that's really conspicuous is you just look at the language that's used differently between Sun People and gliders in these situations. All of the language, like when the lady was crying about the guy being shot, they're at risk. It's all about something's happening to them. They have no control over what they're doing, what's happening to them. If they behave violently, if they rob, if they menace the community, they have all these ways of describing that in such a way that it's because things are happening to these kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're at risk. They're,
Is that racism? Is that a
etc.
common cause of racism?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can use the word racism to describe it, because the effect that it has is it allows and perpetuates more of it.
No, I'm saying as do these white people say these things, see black people as incapable of behaving in a certain way?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of there's a lot of area where you don't really have to apply logic, or you don't really have to try to understand, because you can just see things from a distance and describe it in a way that makes you feel okay about it. So there's a lot of contradictions like that you can find if you really pick at it, but the people that are participating in it aren't picking at it. Like, yeah, like that lady, or like gliders who talk about it like that. Yes, they see Sun People as being these kind of innocent, harmless creatures that the world has been so abusive and unfair to, and which is proven by the fact that they're behaving in ways that these gliders could never imagine behaving. So what society tells them is the appropriate thing to say about that is that the behavior comes from this this extreme abuse and adversity that these innocent people are being subjected to. And you can read into that an attitude of patronism or looking down at them. But you don't have to look down at people in order to say that, because what the gliders are doing is they, being pro-social, very social and sensitive and agreeable beings, they're just participating in society in the way that is kind of given and signaled to them as the appropriate way, the appropriate thing to say, the appropriate thing to think. They're not hanging out intimately in a lot of cases with Sun People, seeing them as they are, without seeing Sun People through this lens of what is appropriate to say and think. And it's appropriate for those people to speak and think about Sun People as, just these kind of helpless people that would, if they were only given a chance, or if they only weren't kicked out of Woolworths, or if they only weren't called names, or if they only, this and that, there's no reason for them not to behave exactly like you or I.
He ordered the victim to give them his necklace and his shoes, which he did. Well, then there's this armed robbery also in Spanaway. Take a look at the surveillance video from a convenience store on Pacific Avenue. Two teens get out of a stolen blue Kia Forte. They're wearing blue bandanas, and when they tried to buy cigarettes, the clerk carded them. So they start grabbing vape pens, stealing 15 worth $25 each. When the clerk tried to stop them, you see him jump back when one of them threatened him with a taser. They took off in that Kia, and now detectives are trying to identify them.
We're seeing Hyundais and Kias taken off from our deputies every single day. If you see a Kia or a Hyundai and you turn around on it because it's missing plates or the headlights out, it's going to take off on you, and more likely it's a stolen vehicle. Multiple robberies every week are being committed by juvenile offenders, and that's not something that we're used to, especially in Pierce County. 15, 16, 17 years old, we're seeing shootings and armed robberies, and they're in stolen cars 90% of the times in those incidents. When they get caught, they're charged as adults, and they go to big boy jail, and they go to prison. And that's not going to help these kids either. These kids aren't going to be able to go out and get a job in the future. They're going to get felony records. We need some accountability to make sure these kids can't.
They don't want a job.
Stop calling them kids. They're predators.
Yeah, and that's the difference between the counties and the cities. See, a lot of these Sun teens have that problem. Like in the DC area, DC plays with you like to the point where it's almost like a game, but you go right across the street. In some areas, Virginia's across the river, right across the river to Virginia, and they'll fucking give you 40 years for the same thing that you won't even fucking see a judge for in DC. So that's kind of like a fuck that's kind of like I feel that's a wake up call for kids. Like you're in a city where you do something and you never even see a judge. It gets tossed out on no paper, and then you go across the river and you get 40 years for the same thing.
Hey,
That's what's happening.
Hey,
Look.
I'm only 33, but didn't cops at one point have street smarts?
I mean, yeah, at one point cops didn't have the NAACP and BLM on their ass either.
Yeah, they were
So
allowed to. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
It's
don't
like
even know if these cops have street smarts. Because what could he say to let you? How could he show you he has street smarts other than verbalize it? You don't know what he's
Well,
thinking.
and
if he
and
stopped
90%
calling them
of cops
kids.
now are less than 5 years on the job too. How do you get street smarts if you haven't been on the streets?
Yeah, let me show y'all something right quick. I think because Fabian was talking about something, and I just want to show you this. This happened in Nigeria. Um oh shit, why did I do that? This happened in Nigeria a little while ago. Let me show you this. Um this is this just show you the difference between just difference between the cultures. Tell me how my sound is.
She was crying. Asked her what was the problem. She said they have killed Onna.
Good sound.
Nigeria is a place where people don't seem to have value for human life because there are so many places in the world where that incident cannot happen.
Exactly 10 years ago, 4 students of the University of Port Harcourt were killed by an angry mob. Now, they had been wrongly accused of robbery, thousands watched, and many filmed as they were brutally murdered. This is the story of the Alu-4.
Thousands watched and many filmed as they were brutally murdered. Okay, so some of you might not understand the accent. These kids were wrongly accused of robbery, and they were just a mob killed them in the street, and thousands watched and hundreds filmed it.
5 a.m., October 5th, 2012. 4 university students run into the local community patrol. At that time of the morning, suspicions arose, especially as there had been robberies in that area. Accused of being petty thieves, they are taken to a mock trial where they are found guilty.
Okay, so what really happened was they went a guy owed them some money, and they went to just to get the money. It wasn't like a gang thing. It was just like, oh, we're gonna go over to Peter's house, see if Peter's got that $20 that you loaned him, so we can go drink some beer or something, right? So they go over to the guy's house, and the guy doesn't have the money, so he accuses them of being a thief, because he knows that calling someone a thief, like in Africa, if you're in the market and somebody calls you a thief, you might not leave that market alive. Somebody says thief and points at you, like you can kill somebody like that just by pointing at them and saying thief.
Mock trial where they are found guilty. Immediately, their punishment is handed out. They are stripped, beaten.
You see what I'm saying? Immediately. That's what you're talking about, Fabian?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's exactly what I mentioned earlier. Everybody in that situation knows that how violence works, who is capable of it, who is susceptible to it, and they behave accordingly to the best of their ability. A lot of people still get killed, and that's
fine.
Yeah, that's par for the course.
Yeah. This is how this would, in order for this to happen, this would have taken 30 years. Because let's just say, you got a lot of noise going on in the background. Mute yourself right quick. Let's just say these guys got the death penalty in America. Between going to court, getting sentenced, put on death row, and actually getting hit with the lethal injection, you're talking about 30 years. For these guys, from the time that guy pointed at them and said thief in front of a bunch of people. They were dead within an hour. They had gone to court and they had been
Yeah.
adjudicated. They were dead within an hour.
Right. And they expect that by nature as well as by nurture. In other words, they expect it not just because that's how the environment works, but they expect it because the environment works that way, because that's how their minds work.
And the guy who earlier in the story, I think some of you was on here earlier when the story about the guy in the in the army or in the Air Force who was trying to get it axes banned from the dormitories. They're from here. And then as soon as they get here, they say, that's what I'm saying. Like, those people are from here. Those people that are trying to get axes banned from military dormitories because one person got killed by one, they're from here. So they've actually adopted the American ways very quickly. And they expect more from American society. That's why I was telling you, they would never ask for those what do you call it? Those they would never ask for those for the rules to be or
Entrenching
laws to be
tools.
changed.
Prohibitions, yeah.
Yeah, in their own country because they know it just wouldn't even be it wouldn't they they might get killed for that for asking. Product of Cook County says pieces of ish doing ish things and will produce more pieces of ish. We pay less taxes and nothing of significance would be lost if gremlins were gone. Facts. But this is an interesting story because this happens every day over there.
5 a.m., October 5th, 2012. 4 university students running to the local community patrol. At that time of the morning, suspicions arose, especially as there had been robberies in that area. Accused of being petty thieves, they are taken to a mock trial where they are found guilty. Immediately, their punishment is handed out. They are stripped, beaten, and taken to a pit where what happens next is too horrific for words. But by the early morning, they were dead.
What happened was they had, and this is something what they did. They were beaten and they had tires put around their bodies with gasoline, and they were tortured until they set the gasoline on fire. So what happened was they take a tire and they put it around you and fill it with gasoline, and then they torture you until you take the lighter and light it on fire. And all this is being watched by thousands of people and filmed by hundreds of people.
Yeah, and I mean this is a many centuries, if not millennia old tradition. It just manifests differently, with the influence of certain European cultural artifacts.
Invention.
The trappings are different, but the behavior is the same over millennia.
Yeah, this is Negroes and
Crowd.
Negro land. Huh?
There's no age limit on this crowd either. There's little kids watching this happen.
Oh, absolutely.
This whoever's around watching it.
Yeah.
Like this is not like the town square or the court building. This is like they will walk. The guy pointed said thief. The mob came. They brought him in front of some tribal elders. Yeah, they're thieves. They didn't have to have anything. See, these guys didn't have any. They didn't have anything that they'd stolen. They just said they were thieves. It wasn't like, well, what did they steal? No one asked. No one cared if they'd stolen anything. They never got caught. There was nothing that they had. There was not like an object that they said, "Aha, here we have it. This laptop or this that you stole it." They just they were called thieves. There had been some robberies going around there. Somebody said they was a thief. Brought them from the elders. The elders said, "Yeah, they're thieves." They were stripped, beaten to a pulp. Tires were full of gasoline were put around their necks, and then they were tortured until they themselves decided that they couldn't take anymore and lit them and set the the thing on fire.
They need colonization again.
No, but this hold on. That is a deterrent. Do you think Kia boys would be running around doing what they were doing over there?
No, but there's a problem of you. But there's a problem of just basically executing a random person who just happened to have a Kia, all because they didn't think of checking evidence.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is the weird. A lot of these processes are not conscious. Human populations regulate themselves as a mass organism. The individuals within the society are like organs in the organism, and they self-regulate in terms of population, in terms of various variables. And this kind of thing is a way that African societies have always regulated their populations. The way that they do it, the particular character with which they do it, tells you something about the way that the brain, specifically the social brain, has evolved. And it shows you how, what kinds of differences are there between evolution of societies in Europe and evolution of societies in Africa. They're different, psychological factors that don't enter into it.
Yeah, like if we've decided that these guys are thieves, for whatever, right or wrong, right? The prospect or the specter of housing them in a facility and feeding them and bathing them and clothing them and taking care of their basis needs for a set amount of years and then releasing them back into the public, rehabilitated, is a foreign concept. That is only something that you would probably see in the cities of Africa where the colonists left jails, and we see that with the jails. The colonists left prisons, the jails, with a maximum capacity of 400, and now those jails have like 8,000, 10,000 people.
Yeah, there's remnants of European justice system type stuff.
If you're in a village or in the outskirts where that stuff is not really applicable, this is the experience you have in the criminal justice system. Mossy, I pointed at you. You're a thief. You're telling them, what did I steal? Look, what did I steal? And the elders say, guilty.
No, you've already had a couple of bricks, but by the time you can make that complaint, you've already had a couple of bricks upside the head just by people standing around saying, "Oh, here we go, it's fun time." And that's why you say, like, the exuberance when you see like big crowds of Sun people in the U.S., just like mass violence, the exuberance of it. And I this is what I was trying to say earlier, and it's just maybe my pet hypothesis, but it's a rare. You call it rare or uncommon, or it's an experience finally of having your brain chemistry regulated by the fact that you're carrying out an evolutionary imperative that you don't have control over. It's not conscious, but you have this sense of that violent tendency, that violent impulse that doesn't fit in the cultural environment. And so instances where there's enough Sun people around where manneristically everybody's calibrating to each other.
Like the basketball game. Did you see the basketball game the other day with Shannon Sharp?
No.
Okay, well, I think what you're saying, we see incidents of that a lot where once there's enough Sun people around, we do relate to each other in the way that we relate to each other.
Yeah, because everybody constantly has a sense of how people in general are going to respond to your various behaviors, just from little tiny, millions of little nuanced manneristic signals that everybody's giving off. So Sun people, on the whole, have a certain range of mannerisms that's different than the range that other groups have. So if you get enough of one kind of person together that shares certain manneristic tendencies, then their behavior is going to coalesce around reiterating the effects of those tendencies.
Would you say?
And that's.
Would you say it's in the Sun man's best interest to isolate himself?
Well, it depends on what It depends on what constitutes interest. Because the thing is, like, some
Like
people just
not getting necklace for false accusations, for example.
you mean in Africa?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, let's say in Africa, for example, would you think it would benefit a Sun man if he isolated himself from others? If this was the fate that could befall him?
Okay, see, now this brings another dimension, which is what I particularly see in this presentation. I was going to bring it up. You're asking that question. That's a very glider mentality question.
Yeah.
Because because it tells you something about how you define benefit. You know, like you define benefit by living in a way that is defined as good by terms that are very European in mentality. And that's contingent on that kind of mass effect. Like if you live your whole life around Sun people who not only are physically Sun people, but who are able to build a culture on the basis of their natural proclivities, then what you feel is beneficial to you is going to have a very different flavor than what you would feel as like the lone Sun person in some like rural Swedish village somewhere.
Yeah, Mossy, there's no, if these people who live in this area, they're not like thinking about like fucking going off and fucking living in or Torrey Pines and shooting 18 rounds of golf a day. These fuckers, they only have one fucking mode. They're born here. They're born into this. These people are born into this. Everybody they know lives here. They don't know anybody in fucking DC or fucking Los Angeles. Everybody they know lives here.
And they live their whole lives internally and externally in steeping in a kind of soup that includes violence as an ingredient to a certain degree. That's a different degree than a European situation. So it's not foreign to them. It's not, and this is the one thing I wanted to say about the presentation. When you started showing this presentation, the first and immediate thing that I noticed is that, okay, these are Africans, they're speaking English. They're wearing, a shirt with buttons and stuff, as opposed to like, whatever they might wear thousands of years ago in Nigeria. There's all of these European, the rooms that they're in. The camera. Yeah, the camera, the microphone, the language. They're speaking English. But another thing that's going on is they're speaking a language not only of European words, but of European values. So you look at the animation, right, with these guys, the 4 guys that are being accused, and they animate them as being all worried and teary-eyed and crying and scared. That's glider stuff. And the way that they say, the words that they use to talk about it, they're falsely accused and it's unjust and they're acting indignant and an unruly mob. But if for Nigerians in Nigeria, let's say, who are as Nigerian as you can possibly be with as little European influence as possible, they're not thinking about this kind of thing in those kinds of terms. It's an injustice. It's an unruly mob. This is all the language. This is all like glider mentality, MK Ultra trigger words, neurolinguistic stuff. It's
almost, my bad to cut you off. It's almost like what do they call it? Anthropomorphizing, when they give human characteristics to animals.
They give glider characteristics to Sun people because this material is, I don't want to say exploitive. This material is made to affect the heartstrings of a glider mentality, the words that they use, the way that it's animated. So it's this glider African sort of hybrid that's going on.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, and it's the same when you give Sun, attributes to a glider. It's the same thing. I mean, it just doesn't fit. Like we call them, we make fun of like that glider that's like acting like a Sun man, or how a stereotypical Sun man, or what you would think.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess the reason I was saying all that is just to answer the question, like when you ask, would it be of benefit? Like the people in that situation aren't thinking of benefit in the way that people in European societies think of what is beneficial. Because their whole life, their benefit is living with people around them that are like them in a society that resonates with their capacities and proclivities. And that also happens to mean that there's a higher level of risk and violence and audacity and death around them. That's part of that situation.
Yeah. So let me just move along a little bit.
Guilty. Immediately, their punishment is handed out. They are stripped, beaten, and taken to a pit where what happens next is too horrific for words. But by the early morning, they were dead. I am Nduka Ojinmo, a BBC journalist from Port Harcourt. I know Alu community very well. Now, I remember when this happened. I was in Port Harcourt at the time, so I still remember it. It was the first mob killing in Nigeria to go viral. Now, when this happened, there was widespread outrage and debates about Nigeria's judicial system.
People were actually there laughing, cheering, taking pictures of other people who were being slaughtered.
But despite all that shock and anger, mob killings continue to happen in Nigeria. People like Ankyo Briggs feel that the government isn't doing enough to stop them.
There have been 279 incidents of mob attacks since 2019, with at least 5 mob killings. So listen, man, this is just how they, you know what I'm saying? This is how these people regulate this stuff, man. And I think that it's we see it in the way we see it at black schools. We see it at black parties. We see it at black get-togethers. We see it when there's too many black people in a certain section of the game. At the arena, we see this, you know what I'm saying? We see this type of stuff. This is just how we relate to each other.
It seems like if you don't raise your voice, the right things will not be done. And yes, there was definitely a feeling in me that the system, the government, the judiciary, even the federal government, ought to be aware of what has happened in a so-called place of education.
So we have talked about the government. What about the people? What is it that drives them to such extremes?
The failure of governance or failure of the criminal justice is one very potent reason for this, because people are no longer interested in what happens there as a result of the failure of the criminal justice system.
See, he you can tell he knows that he does what he's saying is, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean anything. He
Yeah, it's just kicking the can down the road. It's just like you can.
I don't even think he's doing that. I think he's just shooting the Willy Bobo. Now this one right here is another one, the camera room. It just shows you like we operate at a different frequency.
These women and children are being led to their deaths. The soldiers accuse them of belonging to the jihadist group Boko Haram. In the final scene of this video, too graphic to show here, they're blindfolded, forced to the ground, and shot at close range 22 times. One of the women still has the baby strapped to her back.
Now, who would film that? Like who would film that for the international world to see? Even with the Ukraine-Russia war going on, the Russians wouldn't. If I'm not saying the Russian soldiers haven't done nothing like this, they wouldn't film it because they would know that this is unacceptable to shoot a child and a woman 22 times for an accusation.
I wouldn't say Russian soldiers would. Honestly, that's a different breed. That's a different breed.
Okay, but we haven't seen the videos.
Oh, you haven't? I have. Well, no, like shooting kids. You're right.
Okay, now the only reason I'm saying I'm not talking about in battle. Yeah, you raid a town and you're shooting up everything. That's a different dynamic. I'm talking about you encounter some people. Y'all are part of the other tribe. It's a group of women and children. You videotape yourself taking them somewhere and executing them. That's no one would no one would willingly give that to the world. These people didn't know this was wrong. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. They didn't know that this was going to be seen as wrong by the rest of the world. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that no one else would do it.
Think about the Gulag Archipelago. But that, I guess that was from that. I'm saying that came to mind, but I remember that's from the side of the person who was actually victimized. But I get what you're saying, Ak.
Yeah. Freshman says there are many videos of people accused of being a thief in Africa and being literally burned alive while people with children watching and cheering. It's not even medieval behavior, it's worse. Yeah, like that's what I'm telling you. Like if you got an enemy, you can get them killed like that. Like Marcy, you I hate you. You so you know what I'm saying, you slept with my wife. Oh man, shit. One day I see you in the market, thief, and just that can get you killed, and I can get my revenge like that.
The
I'm
video
gonna
began to
say you have an
circulate
overbite.
on
You stupid.
July 10th, 2018. Some claimed that this atrocity took place in Mali. But others said it was filmed in the far north of Cameroon, where government soldiers have been fighting Boko Haram since 2014. The government of Cameroon initially dismissed the video as fake news.
What a piece of shit.
A month later, they announced that 7 members of the military were under investigation. But there has still been no official admission that these killings were carried out on Cameroonian soil by government to the end of their life. This looks like the kind of dusty, anonymous track that could be anywhere in the Sahel. But the first 40 seconds of the film capture a mountain range with a distinctive profile. We spent
Look at what these Europeans did to track these dudes down.
Yeah, and well, she's taught this presentation is talking about this like it's a really intense, bizarre, tragic, horrible event that's just tied to this one particular situation, and it's there's the intense music and the way of talking about it, as if this isn't just a manifestation of how Africa works. Like in the 19th century, when Europeans first came down to Uganda, for example, they would have the Kabaka, the chief. He has however many 100 wives. And so he's getting syphilis all the time. Every time he gets a case of syphilis, he goes to the local, whatever the word would have been for what they called witch doctor. The Europeans called it witch doctor. He would have gone to that guy and said, I'm having these symptoms, whatever he would have said, pus coming out, or whatever it is. And the witch doctor would say, okay, you need a kiwendo. It was called kiwendo. And that's just a ritual where you go out and slaughter a bunch of people. And that's supposed to appease the spirits that are causing you to have these symptoms. And this is a way that is woven into the shared mentality, the shared phenotype of the society by which their population is culled, etc. It's just like, palm trees have a big long trunk that goes up for a while, and then there's spiky leaves that come out. Oak trees have like low branches that just nature produces these different organisms that conduct themselves in different ways.
We spent hours trying to match this range to the topography of northern Cameroon. And then, in late July, we received a tip-off from a Cameroonian source. Have you looked at the area near Zelevet? Close to the town of Zelevet, we found a match for the ridgeline.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're doing all this for just this. Like, this happens every day. This is Gladders. Gladders were appalled when they saw this video. See, this happens every day. They just happened to videotape this one and it got out, and they didn't know that it was gonna like these guys didn't know this was a big deal. They just videoed it like yeah, look at us killing these fucking Boko Haram people. They didn't look at it as anything. It got out, and gliders found out about it, and they were appalled by this.
It places the scene on a dirt road just outside a village called Krawamafa. A few hundred meters away is the border with Nigeria. The video also reveals other details that can be matched precisely to what we see on the satellite imagery. This track, these buildings, and these trees. Putting all this evidence together, we can say with certainty that the killings took place here. Less than a kilometer away in Zelevet, we found this compound and identified it as a combat outpost used by the Cameroonian military in their fight against Boko Haram. We'll come back to this base later. Exactly when the killings took place is, at first sight, harder to say, but again, the video contains clues. This building is visible on satellite imagery, but only until February 2016. The murders must have happened before that date. Satellite images also capture this structure. The walls surrounding it are present in imagery dated March 2015, but had not yet been built in November 2014, giving us...
This is almost comedy to you, right, Faith?
If this is white supremacy, thank you. All right, man. You could, if gliders are willing to go through all this to bring justice to people who they don't even know, for victims who they never even met, if that's white supremacy, we should keep it. Because the alternative is
they treating this shit like a side quest, some side mission.
Yeah, this is just something that happened. Like they just found the village. The ops was there. There's a bunch of women and children. They're like, okay, cool. These are the ops. Let's go take them somewhere and blow their brains out. It was
using
no
our
big
state of the
deal.
art technology.
Yeah, it was no big deal. And then the gliders are like, oh my God, these guys got to pay for this. And they went through all this to find out what? They found out who these fucking guys were.
Possible date, atrocity. The video also reveals this footpath, a path that only appears in the hot, dry season between January and April. There are other, less obvious clues in the video.
You got a lot of
As they
static.
lead these women away, the soldiers, like moving sundials, cast shadows on the track. A simple mathematical formula tells us the angle of the sun in comparison to the horizon. We can also see what direction...
Didn't you say something about this before?
Huh?
Didn't you say something about this? Like how gliders will measure a tree from the angle of the shadow, the tree cast.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they found some random African soldiers in the middle of a fucking bush 10 years after a random common incident happened, it takes this type of shit. There's no one would like it would literally take this. There's so many wars going on in Africa right now. Don't believe CNN that Russia and Ukraine is the only war going on in the world. There's hundreds of wars and skirmishes going on in this region of the world every fucking day. And they found these guys.
When we add this data to our location, we can get a precise time frame for this event. The killings happened between March 20th and April 5th, 2015. We now know where this happened, and we know when it happened. But who are the men who murdered these women and children? In July, Issa Chiroma Bakari, Cameroon's Minister of Communication, insisted that the killers are not Cameroonian soldiers and presented what he claimed was irrefutable evidence from the video itself. The weapons, he said, are not those used by the Cameroonian army in this area of operation. but our analysis shows that one of these guns is a Serbian-made Zastava M21. It's rare in sub-Saharan Africa, but it is used by some divisions of the Cameroonian military. Bakari also claimed that a close examination of the video shows the soldiers wearing colorful forest-style camouflage. In the far north, he said, Cameroonian soldiers wear pale, desert-style fatigues. A closer look at the evidence reveals this. Cameroonian soldiers, seen here in a 2015 report by Channel 4 News, filmed in Zelefet, wearing darker, forest-style fatigues, similar to those seen in the video. On Facebook, we also found these pictures of other Cameroonian soldiers wearing the same type of camouflage. The images are tagged to Zelefet. Bakari also questioned why the soldiers are not wearing the standard combat gear of troops stationed in that area: heavy helmets, bulletproof vests, and rangers' boots. The answer is that the soldiers were not out on patrol. They were just a few hundred meters away from the combat outpost we saw earlier. We know that this is a military base because we matched the features visible in satellite imagery to the details in the Channel 4 News report that was shot here in 2015. In August this year, an Amnesty International investigator spoke with residents of Zelefet who had been displaced by the fighting to a nearby town. Among them was a man who said that he saw these women and children being brought into the base by Cameroonian soldiers. A short while after they were led away, he said he heard gunfire. In August, there was a sudden change in the government's position. After weeks of denying that these killings took place in Cameroon, Bakari announced that 7 members of the Cameroonian military had been arrested and were under investigation. Our analysis has
those guys would have never, in no other time in history, could these guys have ever been arrested for this, other than they had filmed it and it got into the hand of some gliders that were appalled by it.
This is amazing.
If they had killed a bunch of men, this wouldn't have been a big deal. It was just the fact that this little girls, a bunch of women and kids to be strapped to the women's backs, they killed all of them. I mean, listen, man, that little girl got justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thanks for the gliders, man. This happens all the time. I promise you, this happens all the time in that region of Africa. That central, the western region, just all this. These guys probably forgot about this the next day.
Yeah, and it's the same. Yeah, and that parallels if it was like a street in Philadelphia where some gremlins rolled up and sprayed a bunch of bullets into a crowd and killed a bunch of people of the same description as these. They would have slept fine too.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Identified 3 men who actually pulled the trigger. One of them is this man, introduced at the start of the film as Chocho.
Voilà le caporal chef, Chocho.
We found a Facebook profile that links the nickname Chocho to a soldier called Syriac Bitiala. A Syriac Bitiala is among the detainees named by the government. The BBC has also spoken with a former Cameroonian soldier who confirmed that this is Chocho Syriac Bitiala. At the end of the film, we see him again, blindfolding the little girl he's about to kill. A few seconds later, he draws his weapon.
Yeah, man, I can't even watch this. Jesus Christ.
Killing. One of them was in the hands of this man. We see him here blindfolding the woman with the baby, seconds before the shooting starts. Appeared 11 days later on the government's list of soldiers who are now under investigation. The third weapon used in the killing is the Zastava M21 we saw earlier. It is in the hands of a man introduced in the video as second-class Cobra.
Et là, on a le deuxième classe Cobra.
So who is Cobra? As the women and children are killed, Cobra is the last man still firing into the bodies. One of his colleagues calls out, "Tanga, leave it, they're dead." When he still does not stop shooting, they call out again, "That's enough, Tanga, that's enough." The name Tanga also appears on the list of men under investigation, suggesting that Cobra is a nickname for Lance Corporal Tanga. Another man named among those arrested is Etienne Fabassou. He is the platoon commander who was interviewed by Channel 4 News in 2015. As far as we can tell, he does not appear in the video.
So yeah, man. Just just different group, man. Different group, man. Different.
Yeah, the main thing that strikes me about that is how everything about the presentation seems to be formulated in order to make you feel as though this is a really strange, anomalous, dark, perverse, tragic, one-off situation that happened somewhere. And, the music does that. And the fact that all these little intricate bits and pieces and the effort that they put in, because if you say that like such and such a thing happens all the time, every day, in all kinds of places, it wouldn't make sense to pour detail after detail after detail, doing all this rigmarole in order to like solve the crime. It all makes it feel as though you're looking at something that everybody involved understands is really weird and bizarre, like some kind of Jeffrey Dahmer thing.
Yeah, I think it's the video. I think these guys 1000% get away with this if there's no video. I think if there's a video and these are men, they 1000% get away with it. I think that it's women and children. I think if Gladys saw them killing a bunch of men like that, they wouldn't have fucking done all that shit.
They wouldn't have done it, but they could create a presentation to make people watching it feel similarly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those are two different aspects of it. Like why? In other words, this kind of thing happens all the time. It does happen to groups of men. It probably happens to groups of maybe just women and children. It happens in various ways all the time. But the presenting it like this is put together in such a way as to make it seem as though everybody involved, the victims, the perpetrators, the bystanders, the community, the people on the different warring factions, and of course the people presenting it, everybody, it's just commonly understood that this is really weird.
Yeah.
And everybody's really sad about it. And it's not just an everyday thing. And so that's what bothers me about it. That's why it's not comedic to me. It bothers me that this kind of deception is being perpetrated.
Yeah, that there's rules to war or something. Yeah. 4chan, this guy, Forrest Jackson says 4chan autistics grew up and went to work for the BBC. I don't have no clue what that means. Maybe you can tell me.
There's a group of guys on 4chan who have done this forever.
Do you know what 4chan is, Doc?
Yeah, but I don't fit with the site at all.
I'm surprised 4chan didn't solve the Idaho murders. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's full of guys who they look at this kind of stuff and just for fun they try to figure out where it happened, how it happened. I think if I'm not mistaken, 4chan may have helped with Kyle Rittenhouse's situation. In terms of
I think they did.
Yeah, but
with the timeline and the locations.
Yeah, getting the video, all the video evidence.
Wow. So
people do this for fun.
Okay, that's great. But yeah, what I'm saying is those soldiers were brought to justice. I think those soldiers were like jailed or reprimanded, and it just shows you. The reason I want to show you that is because the difference in that to glider society, where it's like those women and children would have had a court date. They would have been detained. They would have been questioned. They would have had the opportunity to have a lawyer present while they were questioned. They would have been put into a detained. The children wouldn't have been detained. The children would have gone into the care of other adults in the family. The women, if detained, would have still had rights during their detaining. They would have still had a lot of rights during that. Then they would have had
Make sure these
a
kids
court
can't
date in the future, and they would have had a defense, and you know what I'm saying. And then even if they were found guilty, that wouldn't have happened to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I mean, along with all that too, it's like there would have been pavement involved, there would have been windows involved.
Oh
there
my
would have
God.
been, there would have been plumbing involved, there would have been
A gavel.
electricity involved. There would, a gavel. Like, who made the gavel? What machine made the gavel? Who made the machine? Like, so many layers of civilization that just aren't part of this reality. And the criminal justice system is just the tip of that iceberg. And look how complicated it is by itself.
Yeah, we're just different, man. And there's no way to fix these differences. I don't even know if it's good to even fix them, because you're just wasting your time.
I mean, the gulf, that's what I'm saying. Like, the gulf is so wide. There's probably rules about how big your gavel has to be, how many inches the gavel, what kind of material the gavel. You can't have a plastic gavel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It has to be a certain color. You can't. You know that.
Instrument of authority. It has to be like cherry wood or something.
Yeah, there's a gavel spec. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but there's like 1,000 pages of protocol around every little stupid thing in a glider society, and I'm just saying, like
the perfect
people don't meticulously actually just look directly at how wide the gulf is between these organisms.
I think it's when you realize that that resources are finite. You try to find the most efficient way to produce something. It reminded me of a shovel company, like during the 20s. They designed the proper shovels for a particular task because they can get the job done efficiently. So I think that's where it comes from. It's the concern for finite resources and how to get things done with as little effort and material as possible.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, that mentality is spread over such an enormous matrix of factors. Like, how it doesn't a gavel, like it does. Okay, what if your gavel's a foot long? Is that really going to trip up the operation? No.
Yeah.
It might break.
Yeah, right. But it's not like there were like years and years of like trial and error, like where we really scientifically nailed the perfect gavel dimensions. You know, at a certain point, it's just like, okay, this is how we do this and that's how we do that. But that mentality is spread over so many variables, and it's not. And people speak about this stuff with in terms of like value judgments. Like, one guy was saying, one of your super chats or something, he said it's like this, but it's worse. And I don't relate to that. It's not. Look how weird this complex civilization is, like how bizarre and absurd it becomes at a certain level of complexity. It's not better. It's just its own. It's just a different reality.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. He said, yeah, yeah. And listen, as a Sun man who lives in this matrix, I guess you call Western society, I do appreciate all of its possibilities that I'm aware of. And I'm more self-aware than the average Sun man, but the average Sun man may not be aware. Because think about it. If you were in a place where you could pick up a device and contact anybody in the world, see trillions of videos. Meet women, reproduce. The main thing about life, which is reproduction. You can find many people to reproduce with on this thing, just this thing right here. The fact that you could leave your house and someone could bump you or look at you strange and you would forego all of this in an instant. You can't fix that. You can't fix that. Somebody that would throw all of that away because someone they vaguely know tweeted something that they didn't like.
Yeah.
Because you don't value you they don't even see that there's something like this is the same as a stone in there in the recesses of the brain. This is the same as a piece of wood that has a grain that's interesting on it. You know what I'm saying? It's just the same thing as that in the caveman portion of the brain.
And I mean, you could make a case that people who have, for example, cell phones would largely be better off if they were instead pieces of interesting wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to get too personalistic, but I feel like at some point it comes to the point of saying, like, I don't really relate to these kind of value judgments. And when people try to say, like, some people actually invented this and invented that, and it's like, okay, is that supposed to be like, I don't see that as like an unalloyed good, it's just like, all right, I guess thanks for cell phones, thanks for like all of the social discohesion and mental illness that comes with, like, people being just like surrounded by this chaotic kaleidoscope of, like, technology tripping over wires about everything. I mean, it's like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Man. Yeah, man. It's interesting topic, man. We had Fabian back in the building. Make sure you come through more often, Fabian, man. Great having you, man. I'm out, man.
All right.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
All right. Peace out.
Hey, Mossy, hold up.
Yeah.
I put a link in the side chat for you.
All right.